It's 8 p.m. It's the last Wednesday of the month. I am the Raggedyman, and that means this is the big stump of May 2021. If you're joining us live on Twitch, please give us a follow so you don't miss out any of our other equally incredible shows that are coming up. And also, please tell us what's happening in the wonderful comments section. And if you're watching the replay on our YouTube channel, please give the show a like if you like it. Give our YouTube channel a subscribe so you get notifications for more awesome, and let us know what you think in the comments below. And now that beats out the way, so station controllers can edit it together. I'm going to bring in our excellent batch of guests for today's show. And first, we have the wonderful Hugh. Hey, Hugh, how are you doing?
I'm doing all right. Hope everyone out there is doing okay.
They are probably doing awesome. They will hopefully let us know in the comments. Ooh, who have we got? We got Lyoko is great. Yay. We've got Just Mark. Yay. And we've got a red-headed rambler, which is amazing because we've also got a red-headed rambler.
Hi, I can be in two places at once on the internet. It's wonderful.
It is amazing. How are you doing this delightful day?
I am very well, thank you. How are you?
I am good. I see you've got a bit of a new setup going on the back there.
No, true. This is my star blanket, which is hiding the
Oh, no, it's the star blanket.
The shelves of shame.
Shelves of shame. What?
It's just covered in books, and I haven't had time to sort them. It will one day be pretty. It will one day.
You know what we have to do now? We have to point at Hugh and go, shame.
No,
shame.
No.
I have no shame.
No,
I have no shame.
Hughes are nicely done. Like, I mean, I can't even tell you what's on half of those shelves anymore.
Oh, I can't even tell you what's in half of the boxes behind me, between me and the shelves.
I feel so much better for living in a super fortress. Anyway,
you do.
Also,
you have a great super fortress. It's cool.
It is most awesome. And also coming along today to truly pack out the historian quota. Yay, we have Jenna.
Hi! I don't have shelves, so unless you count this tiny little thing. So
for really small books.
It's actually for video game controllers.
Ah! Oh god! Oh god! Controller down!
Oh, I can't do it. There we go.
Sorry, my gamer soul was just like leaving my body there.
Gamers don't have souls.
Well, this is no. To be fair, I do. They're in my sock drawer.
Oh, right. Fair enough. Anyway,
my husband's a gamer and he sells shoes. Does that mean he has a lot of souls?
Get out! Get out!
Away from theological discussions. In this wonderful month where Army of the Dead was launched and loads of other things happened, we have the awesome Hugh, who's going to take us through some wonderful box office news. Are you ready, Mr. Hugh?
I am indeed. So, thing that fascinates me is this idea of a series, a franchise, a movie experience that lasts as long as it does when it comes from such relatively humble beginnings, but which is also continues to break new ground. So, Fast and the Furious number 9. Yes, I know. 9 of these thrillers, actioners, whatever you want to call them, because by this point they've kind of mutated into their own mini genre variation on Bond. But the fact that I think is most interesting is that as it's one of the first American blockbusters out of the gates this summer into actual theaters outside of the States specifically. And it has already clocked up over $163 million. This is before it even gets even close to opening in America. And it just makes you wonder, well, hang on a minute. The thing that we've often discussed, sort of those of us who are interested in this sort of thing, whether or not America's dominance of cinema, right, which, let's be fair, is what some people think that's all there is to cinema. Some people are surprised when they discover there are Indian movies or Chinese movies or French movies. And of course, a lot of people judge those movies by American
British movies.
And English movies, English as well as Scottish and Irish and so forth. So, yeah. And I think what's interesting about this is to see the what American websites used to refer to as foreign takings is now actually far more important than the domestic one. I mean, you know, of the money they've made this last weekend, right? That's in just 8 international markets. Okay, so in this case, the top 5 markets are China, Korea, Russia, Saudi Arabia, and the UAE. And it says a lot about where cinema is at now, who goes to the cinema, why are they going. But for me, I think the most interesting thing is the snobbery around Fast and Furious. It's just one of those things where even when it started off, even the very first film, there was this kind of snobbish, oh, look, they're trying to do the whole, you know, undercover cop car thing again. No big deal. And that has not only not gone away, but as it's gotten bigger, I keep running into people, particularly fellow nerds, who are antithetical towards it. I remember when one of my friends, who was a huge nerd, as well as being a film producer, went to see his first Fast and Furious film, and he came out saying, well, why didn't I start earlier? This is amazing. It's everything that I'm not getting from the Bond films right now. You know, and he appreciated it for being just big budget action entertainment. And I just wonder, are we at that stage now? Does all this success mean we're at this stage where people are going, well, actually, let's give this series its due? It entertains. That's all it's there to do.
There is a theory that has been often stated that the internationally successful movies are just action movies because they're oh, look at the pretty lights, oh, look at the flame, which I can get because action is universal, whereas is a lot more universal than necessarily drama or social or whatever. But maybe they're also
comedy can be
just
very
fun.
hard to translate.
Oh, comedy
is
is
a nightmare.
hugely difficult to translate.
I mean, in regards to the snobbery about the Fast and Furious, I've never watched a Fast and Furious movie. Not because I think they're bad or like it's not a genre of movies that appeals to me as a person. So if I still had terrestrial television and it came on the TV, I'd probably watch it because I've heard good things. But I'm not going to go to the cinema or buy the DVD or rent it just to watch it because it's. Yeah, but like I'll be honest with you. Anytime I hear anyone being snobby about them, I'm just thinking, I'm not going to trust your opinion because you're not letting people enjoy things.
Right. I think that's a really big part of this. I think that's a really big part of this. One of the things I think is interesting is that regardless of whether you think Vin Diesel can or cannot act, and that is entirely a separate question from the issue of how this film's doing. Anyone who's seen Saving Private Ryan or Boiler Room knows he can act, but that was 20 plus years ago.
He was in Saving Private Ryan?
Yeah, he was really good.
He's fantastic in it. He's one of the best things in it. So one of the things I think is interesting about the way the series has grown, both with and without him, because there are films in the series without him, because he was like, oh, I'm a big star now, I don't need to do these films, you know. At one point, the thing that interests me is that when Vin came on the scene, one of the things I really liked about him, and I had this discussion with a few other friends of color, was the idea that we had an action hero who could be taken up by anybody. Hawaiians could like him, and you know, it was like the Rock was the same thing. He and the Rock, when the Rock started doing movies in Welcome to the Jungle, aka The Rundown, I was like, oh, cool, this guy could be from anywhere, and I really like that. I like watching an action movie in it which isn't just generic white dude who's the ex-Marine and from the American Marine or what have you. I like the fact that these guys were visibly from somewhere else, but then the emphasis on street culture and hip hop and Latino culture and all the rest of it, what was stuff that is now really important to America in its elections, in its cultural outlook, in the way TV is put together now and film. He was ahead of the curve on that. Absolutely ahead of the curve. Because he understood that there were people who want to see themselves on screen. And I think maybe that's the thing.
As a series, I believe it was 7 or 8, which absolutely stormed the box office. That was credited by having one of the most diverse casts in cinema. So it's like, oh, it's just action, maybe, but maybe it's just action where everyone gets to see someone do something cool and they can go, that could be me.
And that's what I like about it. And that's what I think its strength is.
Yeah.
And I do wonder how much of all the box office mavens are discussing this as if this, and I originally proposed this topic on the basis of, is America no longer required to make a hit? And of course, any of us who live outside of America, we know it doesn't, you don't need America to make a hit, right? We know that. That's just a fact of life. You can do. I mean, the original Girl with the Dragon Tattoo series made all its money back in European territories, and the only reason they sold the English language rights, they sold the English language rights for the remake before they ever got their own theatrical release for the Swedish ones, and they didn't care. The Yellowbird films were like, "That's fine. We've made our money. We're good.
We have color."
I mean, coming out of movies slightly, like there were 2 Broadway producers that turned down Cats. It's now in its 40th year, so it's like,
So how many people are happy that their movie got made?
Okay.
It made bank.
Can you imagine being the producers who turned that down?
How many people turned down
my
the Stones? How many people turned down the Beatles? So
Well, yeah.
that's the thing. Like,
But I think, do we think that we're now at a stage where, in big movie terms, like blockbuster terms, and since we are starting to see cinemas open again, and the idea of the blockbuster as a thing that we can all go and do together, even if we're not going to, I think specifically us here on this feed, that we're not all eager to rush back into cinemas. Do we feel that maybe this is now a huge sort of signifier of where movies are going in the future? Because there's one really important corollary to all of this, which is John Cena had to go online for Chinese audiences to apologize for describing Taiwan as a country, because in China they continue to insist Taiwan is not a country.
trying to get away from that insane politics. Taiwan is a country. Oh no! Sorry, station controller. We're banned from China now.
Yeah, no, but isn't that? But this is the worrying thing, right? Like, it's one thing for Iron Man to shoot scenes for Chinese consumption that are not in the version we all saw. That's one thing.
That's localization.
Yeah, precisely. And given all of us understand anime and other things, localization is a thing we get. But when you're getting to the point where you're making, political statements for commercial reasons because you don't want to lose money, then I wonder, really, are we seeing, in addition to the fact that, America is no longer enough to support its own films, are we now going to also see America bowing to, other tastes in that way?
I mean, American film industry has always bowed to the almighty dollar. Like, that's not in any doubt. But I think because of the internet, for all its wonders, it's also brought a lot of the political situation that the Americans wouldn't even be aware of into people's homes. So now when, like, they do a movie and it's like, yeah, Taiwan's a country, and then of course the entirety of China goes on the internet and goes, no, it's not. The world notices. So obviously the American film conglomerate or whatever, the big film, is that a thing? I don't know. It's
Hollywood.
It's like, Hollywood. Thank you. I was like, there's a phrase for it. Oh, Hollywood. They are saying, look, we are aware that the rest of the world exists. Please give us your money still.
Yeah. And I think go on, sorry.
I was going to say, at the same time with that, the first half of your question was, do you need America any longer for the movie to succeed? I think the internet is now, because definitely with stuff like Netflix, they've proven you can have international releases. Parasite's landing and doing really well, commercially successful and Oscar successful. They are. It's just becoming more apparent that you can get your product out there. It's the distribution costs have gone down, therefore it's far easier to get the stuff out. So if you the more, America is still producing these massive movies, but the global market is now so much more developed and so much more usable to do it. You don't have to. It doesn't take. Crikey, it used to take a movie 2-3 years to get around the world. And so you had to make all the money in the States, because then you had all the financials and the taking it to markets was a whole ballgame. Now you can make a movie international by having a pager on your website. So,
but I mean, now though, there was an interview recently where I don't even know what the publication was for, but it was a journalist interviewing the director of Parasite. Why did you make it in Korean, was the question. to the Korean director who used Korean actors and filmed it in Korea.
Okay, we have already established journalists can be stupid.
I know, but it was just like,
yeah, it was World of Warcraft movie was saved by the Chinese market. They absolutely lapped it up because they are a huge part of the World of Warcraft market.
Mm.
Even if people won't admit it, but the Warcraft is an international game. Most online games want to get a chunk of the Chinese market because it's fat dollar. But yeah, it's gonna knock shoulders on the political front. That's an
I
inevitability.
I think this is interesting in another way because once upon a time, if you made a Bond film, right, you could be what now looks like racist, frankly, towards other nations. You could be, you could do these amazing stunts and blow stuff up, and nobody gave a damn as to whether or not there's collateral damage or who gets hurt or why. Right? It's like, oh look, spectacular car chase, half of Paris is gone. Whoops. You know, all the stuff that's been parodied to death since. One of the things I think is interesting about the Fast and the Furious films is while they're predicated on illegal street racing culture, as they've gotten bigger and become Bond films, they've blatantly become Bond films for people who don't want to see a white cis male, het male doing Bond, right? They have expanded out. In doing that, one of the things I found interesting is they've had to create villains from whole cloth because they don't want to get bogged down they don't want to make it political because that closes off where they can be shown in films.
They can't go to the cheap target of the moment. They have to work. What a shame.
But that's why we get the whole thing. Everyone parodies the whole thing in the Fast and Furious about family, as if, for a start, as if there's something wrong with the idea of family. But when you're appealing to countries where, particularly Catholic, Latino countries, that's quite a big cultural element to discuss this idea of family and a positive thing. And that was initially where it kind of blew up in terms of success outside of the States. But then you start to add in all these other layers, and they have to complicate matters, and it becomes giant fan fiction. Basically, it's like, okay, so and so is related to so and so, is friends with so and so. There's a vengeance of that. It's a big soap opera. But what I like about that is it means that the next villain is always coming from within their realm, their ranks. You know, we're not, and even their villains can be redeemed. You know, both The Rock's character and Jason Statham's character started off as bad guys, and now they have their own spin-off movie together. You know, and I think there's something appealing about this idea. It's one of the most popular moments in the Bond series, at least for audiences at the time, is when, you know, Jaws, who's, you know, in 2 films only, becomes this wonderful henchman villain that Roger Moore beats up all the time. You know, when Jaws actually helps him escape in Moonraker, and I you know, that was my first Bond in the cinema as a kid, and I remember the whole audience going, "Oh," kind of, you know, as much as Bond audiences do that. But you know, it wasn't. That was when Bond was still family, if you get what I mean, entertainment
for its time. Yeah.
Although
So
I don't think I would show many to Evie now because
no, you wouldn't.
No, because they're horrific.
But I got showed so many as a kid. It's so interesting, different.
I grew up on Bond movies and Carry On films, and now I'm just like, ooh.
I want to do a quick shout out to a wonderful podcast, James Bond Must Die, which is slowly but surely going through how awful all of the Bond movies are. There was a comment from Just Mark. Here we go. I see more and more Russian-made action blockbusters turning up. They seem low quality, but they're still big. Blackout was one I saw and reviewed recently.
Yeah.
I don't know about it being low budget, but for me, one of the charms of it was different. There is a style, there is a language, there is an expectation within the Hollywood. I'm not going to put quote marks up within the Hollywood blockbuster, and this didn't follow it. So it had loads of stuff exploding. It had the good guy, it had the bad guy, but there was something in it that was just out of step by virtue it was told by someone else. So if you got access to that, why wouldn't I watch it?
And I think that's what the Fast and the Furious did. I think that's what it did from an American perspective. Is I feel like there's a lot of people who went to see the first couple of films with Paul Walker as their entry point. The white guy undercover cop is their entry point. The surfer dude.
Yeah.
Right. And the street culture is meant to be effectively, these are the bad guys. They're gang people. And then the thing flips on its head. It's the classic undercover cop thing of, oh, the criminals have more honor than the cops. But then as the series enlarges and grows, and then they get their first Chinese, American Chinese director in, Justin Lin, who of course has become a huge director. Even doing the last Star Trek. He's a really interesting guy, and he comes from a small low budget. Even before Marvel, they were doing the let's get the indie guy in. Because he did this indie film called Better Luck Tomorrow, which is a nice little film. A little bit of crime, a little bit of comedy, drama about young Asian guys in California. And then he steps up to do the Fast and the Furious, and the next thing you know, the series just blows up under his hat. And so much so that they keep asking him back to make movies. He's just made the new one. And I think again that's like an interesting perspective, because he's a guy who knows his way around international cinema. When he was one of the co-producers on Community, the sitcom, and when they did their paintball episodes, they're absolutely brilliant paintball episodes. He's the one who said, "Yeah, we've got to get the Chow Yun Fat moment in. We've got to get Chang to do. Senor Chang has got to come in with the suit and the gun in slow motion." And I was like, he knows his action. And as an international, what you said earlier, Andrew, about an international language, action is an international language. Mostly because you don't need to speak something to see it and follow it.
It's an international language, but it's a lot easier to get dialects into it.
I think the great thing about Fast and the Furious is that it subverts the expectations, as the way your friend described it to me. Because you look at it, like you look at the movie posters, and you're like, okay, yeah, it's going to be your usual masculine, toxic masculinity, rah rah, and actually then. Again, not having watched it, but people I know watch it, and they're like, yeah, the women are powerful, the minorities are powerful, they have really good representation, and it's again they focus on family, which is a great subversion of toxic masculinity, because obviously, if you say James Bond, I think he got married once, and that lasted all of 5 minutes. I think.
Yep. I was going to say also, do you maybe going back to the family issue? Because it's a found family rather than everyone being completely related. Obviously, that's a bigger deal nowadays, especially with queer people. So even if there's not a queer person in it, that can translate quite nicely to people in that minority as well. So
it can also fit in so many different. I'm not saying no on that, because that's absolutely true. But I'm just thinking that you could also have, like, if you're up in uni, you're away from home from the first time, you've got a found family. If you just move to a city, if you don't get on with your family for whatever reason, the idea of a really close bonded found family is highly attractive.
Yeah,
just to so many different groups. Absolutely not denying the queer element, but just. I'm just thinking, yeah, great. So queers, the queer groups all over the globe can go, I want to go watch this movie about people blowing up.
But I mean, this is the thing, isn't it? I think it's interesting that Vin's other big franchise, which again he walked away from, which is the Triple X movie. When he finally came back to it after a stupidly long amount of time, the first thing they did is try and turn it into a Fast and the Furious film. Halfway through the film, he's recruited a team of people from all over the world, and you get people like Ruby Rose and Donnie Yen and so forth all over the film, being amazingly cool, and I was just like, wow, I did not expect this. I thought this was going to be a Vin fest, and actually he's had the decency to step back in the lead role and let all these other people come in and get their cool moments, and all of a sudden it feels like a Fast and Furious movie. And I was like, well, actually I'd watch another one of those. I'd quite happily watch another Triple X if you're going to do that. And because again, it's about it's like everything you guys said. It subverts the expectations. He started off as this guy who was the lone hero, and then he's taken his own money and his own time and his own reputation and built franchises in which other people can come to play. I can't think of another franchise that would have, like, Judi Dench gets into the Bond films, but she never gets to run around with a gun or anything. She has to always act like I'm your mum, but I quite fancy you too, kind of thing. Whereas in when it comes to the Fast and Furious, it's like, cool. Helen Mirren, would you like to be Miss Gangster? Come on in,
the Red movies are brilliant. I love
Is
those.
It right? They basically get her to do that.
But it's great. It's like it's again subverting expectations. It's like, oh, they're old retired spies. No, they are the most deadly people in the entire movie.
Exactly.
Like, I love it.
Yeah, I'd watch more of those. I mean, I think these franchises are a big reason why I feel the Bond franchise is as weak as it is currently. Because every time I go and see one of these films, I come out with the buzz I used to get from that kind of big blockbuster.
But But also the
And
problem with the Bond franchise is it's based on something that was created in the 40s.
Mm.
You know, it has not updated itself particularly well in
It's-
terms of the way Bond is. It's updated the gadgets and the special effects, but the Fast and the Furious, because it's being made currently and it's now, it's resonating with the generations that are watching them. Whereas the Bond movies, as I say, if you go back and watch them, like, wow, I now get why my dad liked these so much.
I'll be honest, say I can't see a way Bond can update itself and remain Bond.
agreed.
Which kind of segues us into the next topic. So, has anyone else got anything they want to add on this one?
No,
I'm good.
One thing I would like to say is the last thing I can remember, I think was the last movie. People were moaning at me that there was that they like flew a tank out. They flew cars out of planes, and there was a tank and
Mhm.
all that stuff. And they were just like, yeah. And then they dropped the tank out of the plane, and they were like coming
They
at
do
me
that.
like that was a bad thing. I was
Oh,
like,
so you can drop a
you've just-
tank out of a plane.
you've just described to me like the coolest chase sequence in history. Is it stupid? Yes, but it's awesome stupid.
Yes.
Everyone watches the Marvel films. Someone managed to destroy half of the, well, was it 1/3 or a half? I can't remember, of the
Half.
entire universe by clicking.
Oh
How
yeah.
is that less stupid?
But he had magic space rocks, so it was fine.
Okay. That
How
was
is that more less stupid than a tank?
that's the thing. That was serious stupid because you had the whole consequences
Drama
of
of
it. Fantastic Four was just exciting stupid because
Wait, are we talking Fantastic Four?
sorry,
you
no, sorry,
invented, or Fan Four-Stick?
Fast and Furious was just
Okay.
sorry, and then you got Army of the Dead.
Where
which
were
is
we
just
going with
boring,
Fantastic
stupid.
Four?
Yeah, I was like, Fantastic
We're
Four.
not.
Wait,
We're not going anywhere. I got the words wrong. It's FF. The iteration caught me.
Andrew, what's my name?
Hey,
Jenna.
I nearly said Final Fantasy earlier, so there you go.
Anyway, moving on to the subject of remakes and reimaginings. Hey!
Hey, well done.
Oh, it's me, right? Hello.
Yes, it is you.
So yeah, the start of this came about because I discovered that the Powerpuff Girls live action series had to be reworked because it felt a little too campy. One, I didn't even realize they were making a Powerpuff Girls live action, and two, it's like, have you seen the source material? Like, too campy.
Oof.
And it's sort of then led into this thing because like Hocus Pocus 2 has now been officially confirmed by Disney. It's coming out in 2022 with the original cast. There's the Highlander thing. Again, I don't really watch Highlander, but Andrew brought it up. And it's like, a lot of these things are old in terms of media. Like Powerpuff Girls is at least 15 years old. But that
Older,
seems
I
to be
think. Maybe 20.
Possibly. Look,
It
as far as
ended 205 to
as far as I'm
2005.
concerned, 2000 was about 5 years ago. So, you know. And then you got things like the Winx Club. They had that dark, gritty remake on Netflix. And it's like, why are we taking children's cartoons and turning them into something that they're not? Like, I want to see a live action Powerpuff Girls remake, but I want to see the same tone as the cartoon. You know, Townsville, you never see the mayor's secretary from like the neck up. And, you know, that's what I want to see. I don't want
the actual
to see
thing.
Yeah, I want to see. It's like, dare I mention the Gem and the Holograms movie?
Oh, please go for it.
It's a trash fire, and I hate it. It's like, did they see? I mean, I grew up on Gem and the Holograms. I had a lunchbox, a flask, I had t-shirts, I had bedding.
Aw.
Like I was a Gem and the Holograms
Yeah.
kid because I was a kid of the 80s. And then that movie came out, and I was like, oh my god, they've made Gem and the Holograms. What have you done? Oh god, it's like.
See,
Yeah, it's like I felt like sort of, you know, the person standing there who made it would probably standing like, I have created an abomination.
the biggest problem for me with the Gem and the Holograms was it was so. As I've said before, I have no problem with a good remake. I have no problem with a good reimagining. I have no problem with a good update. But the Gem and the Hologram just had it was in name only, and it was such a waste of potential.
Like, they didn't get synergy right, they didn't get the holograms right, they didn't get the misfits right, they didn't get any of it right, except the name.
There is, I mean, obviously it was, number one, truly, truly outrageous, the original series. But it was huge, it was big hair, it was incredibly 80s. And they didn't even modernize it to be the
Believable?
2K's version of that, because you had the same time, you had the that was when Lady Gaga, as you said, K-pop and J-pop and all the huge, ridiculous pop stuff going on. So they could very easily have done it with that, and then they just didn't.
also,
it's like, well,
And 80s at the time, I think, was quite big as well.
so they
but
could have
also-
done just a full retro.
Yeah.
But the thing is, you can recreate things from the 80s from my childhood and make them work. She-Ra and the Princesses of Power. Anyone seen that?
Yes, amazing.
Storming.
Watch it.
What?
I still need to watch it.
Yes, you do.
You have
do
homework,
need to
young
watch it.
lady.
You
should watch
You
it.
need to watch it.
Yes,
All of
everyone
you
should
on
watch
there,
it.
if you haven't seen it, watch it.
It is definitely a standalone on its own remake of the original. You don't need to watch the 80s toy commercial that was technically a cartoon series. The characters are amazing, representation is amazing, the story is so much more gripping than it was from the 80s. Because let's be honest, the 80s one, it was like a little bit, occasionally the story wobbled and you're just like, wait, why is this character here? Oh, toy line. And like, it's just amazing. It really, like, it resonated with all the like, I know a lot of fans when it first came out were like, this isn't the thing, and I'm like, no, but it is. It's still She-Ra. It's still sword kicking princess with a magic pony that talks. And she's got a cast of ridiculously named friends.
But it had clear links between, and it was She-Ra. It was a new version. It was an update of it, but it was still recognized the She-Ra. So like with
I was going to say there is a big difference where what we're talking about is She-Ra was animated from an animated series. A lot of these remakes that we're talking about is going from animation to live action.
That is true.
Yeah.
The problem I have a lot of the time is that it shows how not misrepresented. I can't think of the right word. Not respected animation is in general, because people are like, you can't have a serious thing in animation. So it's like Netflix are making a new Avatar: The Last Airbender series, which I don't have a lot of hopes for, considering the two main directors have fallen out of it.
Not a good
And
sign.
so it's like, why do we need a remake of it when the show is it's not perfect in any way, but it's perfect for families to watch, and it's kind of kiddies first genocide. Let's explain. Sorry,
That's the new line from Fisher Price.
New from Hasbro.
But the thing is, like, you can, but that's the thing. People who go like, oh, cartoons are for kids. Like, did anyone watch the Carmen Sandiego series on Netflix, which was a cartoon of the really bizarre game show from my childhood? Because that was mostly, I just remember the guys doing the theme song and he's like,
yeah.
And it's like, the parts of that were dark. Like, it dealt with very dark themes and for a kid's show. I think it's technically a 12, but let's be honest, a lot of parents will see, oh, it's a cartoon and it's on Netflix, click, and then your kid ends up watching it. And I'm like,
that is why Netflix has a kids section that is separated from the actual, because there's so much adult animation on there now. It's so then it doesn't get through to the kids. It's like on Disney Plus, how they've taken a lot of the older Disney films and they're only available on the adult service,
which is good.
The like Dumbo and the joke about, oh look, this is a crow, his name is Jim.
Anyway, enough about the 50s being hideously racist.
There's two things we're missing.
I have to get history in somewhere.
We already did an episode about that, remember?
I know, it was awesome.
So there are
This
two
is
things
real
I think we can
history.
have a discussion here. One is the fact that once you step away from the raison d'etre of all of those shows, as Lizzie said, that to sell toys, right? Once you remove that, then creatively, what is the reason for the thing to exist, right? And whereas those of us who love anime are used to the absolutely kind of built-in merchandising, franchising, the fact that anime is built by committee, literally, and the committees
Yeah.
cover all the strands. It's like we start with this idea that it's going to cover everything. In the West, obviously, we don't quite take that approach, and there's this idea that it's still trying to be a bit more creative and a bit more entertaining. But I think a big part of the problem, is people who are making it. I think fundamentally, you have to have people who are adults and yet can retain enough of the kid in them to make it work. So I have the friend I mentioned earlier who was a producer who went to see Fast and Furious. Sorry. He's in his 50s, right? He works in animation. He's got several shows produced. There's a CBB show he does that's now into its third, fourth season. I can't remember, but it's won awards. And then
Is it one that I like?
The Deep.
No.
The one about the family.
I was hoping it was Sarah and Duck.
No. This is the adventure series about the mixed race family living in Australia who go underwater and have all these adventures.
Watch some of that. Yeah.
Yeah. So he makes that, but then the mutual friend he and I have has been working on kids shows for the BBC for some time now. The latest one is was a girls show. Was it called The A Word? I think. Anyway, again, several awards. It had a social media based game built in for it. Like they created an entire social media app for the fans to go with it, which linked into the game, the world itself. Very, very clever stuff. But the thing is, both of these guys are in their 50s. They have kids. They're horror movie fans, amongst other things, right? And that's where the darkness and the more grown up element comes into it. But they still somehow have retained this kind of childlike love of what they do. But then you go and see other producers. Right? And these guys are just like, right, how do we make more money out of this? How do we make more money out of this? Okay, so that one was for the 5-year-olds. Can we make a version for the 10-year-olds? Can we make a version for the 20-year-olds? How do we get the adults to watch? And you're just like, stop doing this.
That's the thing, though.
You already have the adults watching.
I would say with these, like using the Powerpuff Girls, I don't think there's a reason you can't succeed with a success, with a successful legacy going from animation to live action if you have the right people doing it. Okay. And I don't think you can't succeed going from a kids audience to an older audience. Okay. I think it's perfectly possible to age things up and to set it live action, but still have it recognizably being that series.
Okay, but I think a lot of these shows already did that. That's the thing, though. A lot, like I watched the Powerpuff Girls. I'm a massive fan of Gendy Tartakovsky and Craig McCracken. And my mate, who I shared a flat with at the time, we're in our 30s. We watch these shows, right? And we got a bunch of guys together and we went and saw the movie in the cinema, right?
So
and
they're
literally
already
only adults in the cinema, right? In Brighton. And to be fair, we'd had a couple of pints. We had the most uproarious time. We loved it. We laughed. There is one line in that movie that I still think is absolutely brilliant, which is when Mojo Jojo says, we have been too long under the thumb of humanity, and now it is time to oppose that thumb. Which is none of the kids got it. It's just us in the back. Laughing and laughing and laughing. But that's the genius of what they did with the Powerpuff Girls. Is you could be any age and there were things for you. And I think the problem with trying to make it live action is misunderstanding that the original form was all ages.
Yeah, I mean, because think about it. When I watched Powerpuff Girls the first time around, him went totally over my head. I didn't get any of the jokes about him. And then when I watched it when I was slightly older, I'm like, oh my God, I get it now.
But
I know now. I know why my mother wouldn't let me watch it.
But we're talking about. Okay, so in the Mojo Jojo example, that's just smart writing, right? With with what you were saying about the him, that's just a costuming thing. All these things can be done visually. Like they had a really good run with the Tick live action, the recent one.
Yes.
The basic problem they had was the two main stars got hugely famous and they couldn't afford to make it any longer. But that took a that took an existing property and turned it into a live action, and it worked. It worked really well.
The Powerpuff Girls live action, I can see working because the Powerpuff Girls cartoon series itself, it is a timeless cartoon. Like, it's not set. Like, you don't look at that and go, that is the 80s or that is the 60s or that is whatever year like things were made. But then you've got something like, say, Hocus Pocus 2, which was 1993. That was a very much a 90s film. You watch it and it's like, the two bullies in it are very 90s. The product placement is very 90s. The whole thing is just 90s.
You also had the main cast had a level of, I'm trying to think how to word it. Those people appearing in that film at that time was weird.
Yes, like watching Bette Midler is playing a witch who wants to eat the children of wait, what? And she's got Sarah Jessica Parker and Kathy Najimy as well. I think Kathy Najimy was mostly a comedian at that point. Like, she hadn't really done big roles. I don't think Sarah Jessica Parker had quite done Sex and the City. Not 93. I think
that was later 2000s, as in early 2000s, early 2000s.
And now, like, they're like, yeah, it's coming. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love Hocus Pocus 2. Hocus Pocus. I can recite the script from memory. I watch it every Halloween, and I watch it all the time, even when it's not Halloween. And the thought of a sequel at one point, I am both thrilled that there is a sequel, and I am disturbed beyond all reasoning that there is going to be a sequel, because the thing is, like, it's not 1993 anymore. It's 2021.
Exactly.
Bette Midler, I love her still, but she has aged, as has Sarah Jessica Parker and Kathy Najimy. And if we're supposed to believe that these are immortal witches come back from the bowels of hell, it's like,
you could do that. You could pull it off, but I can't see it landing with the resonance it did.
I think this is because it's like they come back because they get raised. According to this, 3 young women accidentally bring the Sanderson sisters back to modern-day Salem and must figure out how to stop the child-hungry witches from wreaking a new kind of havoc on the world. Does that not sound like the plot of the first movie?
Obviously.
Can I just say? I just want to say 2 things. One, I appreciate what you're saying about who they were at the time, but I do think that one of the reasons it did well at the time that it came out. I mean, Kathy Najimy had just been in Sister Act, which blew up hugely. I mean, she was considered the standout from that, which I thought was kind of interesting.
And also, Hocus Pocus did not do well at the time. It bombed in theaters.
It was home video.
It was home video. And I think they showed it on like the Disney Channel at Halloween, and that's what sort of got it going. But like,
it's a cult film.
Yeah, it's a cult classic, and I worry when cult classics get sequels, because I think that remaking what made it a cult classic is not. It's hard to do well. I can't think of any film that was a cult classic that got a sequel that worked.
Well, it's like a similar 90s Disney film like called Runnings. Could you imagine that getting remade and trying to do it up to the modern era? That does, it's a completely different thing because it's based on a true story. But at the same time, it has that sort of similar status in people our ages sort of viewpoints, where it's one of those films we really, really like from that period.
But this is what happens when companies are desperate for content. This is what happens when they're desperate for the streaming channels. They will remake anything that they think has got a chance of making some money.
But the thing,
this takes us to Highlander, though.
And
I am very skeptical of Highlander working, not because I don't think they can do a good movie. They can do a good movie, but because all the factors that made Highlander so huge pretty much no longer exist.
Yep.
You have this movie that came out of effectively nowhere. It was not a huge budget, huge profile movie. You had Queen doing the soundtrack for it. It's hard to explain how much that gave that movie at the time its boost and how important it was for that. You had the pre-millennial tensions. It just turned up just before the real 2000 worries happened. You had Christopher Lambert's mutant accent. Jesus Christ, who else can do? He's the only person on the planet whose natural speaking voice sounds like someone who has at some time lived everywhere on the planet. It's
But
just
that's the point. He went to the school I did in Switzerland. He was our
Yeah.
boy. When he made Subway, we were all like, "Oh my god, it's that guy who was at the school a few years ago. He's in this film."
Yeah.
But I think that's the thing you got to remember. Highlander in Britain had a really rough ride because it got released truncated in the American cut, and they just removed everything. You know, the stuff about World War II, everything that was about his living through the past. They took it out. There was just the Scottish bit, and then there was the present bit.
It did work. It did shift though, and it did get a huge. It got
they
a huge
re-released it.
reputation.
I mean, White Dwarf.
Yeah.
I remember the movie review in White Dwarf because the guy went back and he said, "I never do a second review of a film in White Dwarf unless I haven't done it ever, but I've asked the editors to be allowed to do it because all of you guys who are role players need to see Highlander in the uncut version because I've now seen it and now it is a better film." But I also agree with you that Lambert was a really weird start at the time because he'd done Greystoke and then he'd done Subway and he did this, and it was just he was the last person you expect. I agree with you. There's something about him that just doesn't work, and yet it does. And I think it might go back to what we were saying about action being international language. Once you dub him, it's fine. That's what they used to say about Van Damme, Arnie, all these guys. They used to say the reason Stallone or any of them sell well outside of America is because you dub them.
Some of it might also have been his absolutely willful disregard for the life of stuntmen. But anyway, I've just one comment from the audience. Highlander can work now because battle royale games are really popular. Just basically make it a mass Highlander so there can only be one. Now this is why I don't think it's going to work. Is because it was before that became a thing. It was new. It was novel. If you do it now, you either have to get it to conform to the battle royale concept, which you need a huge number of people, and it takes away a lot of the emotional resonance from it, or you stick with the original plot, and it's just like, oh wow, this is like a battle royale, but not as cool. I suppose I think the time. This is what I reckon on that one. The timer has passed. I'm not saying it'll be a bad film. I just can't see it working.
It's sort of that age-old question of just because you can, should you? Like you can remake Highlander, you can do a sequel to Hocus Pocus, and you can do the Powerpuff Girls as a live action, less campy. But the question is, should you?
You get into the whole territory of why remake happens. And the simple reason why remakes and redos happen a lot at the moment is because the market is so full of stuff. Anything that gives you traction helps. So if you have a name and if you have a product that's already got its own traction, that is why you do it, because these things cost millions to make. We know that's why they do it. We know that is why these things become properties. So that's we've hashed that one out before.
But like again, I can't speak for Highlander because it's not a series that I actually watch. But the Hocus
there was
Pocus
only one
2,
movie.
Yeah, we had this discussion yesterday, Andrew. I'll take your word for it. But like the Hocus Pocus 2 movie has been rumored and teased for years. Like every couple of years, something would come up with, apparently like Bette Midler, Sarah Jessica Parker, and Kathy Najimy were all spotted in this restaurant together. So Hocus Pocus 2 must be happening. And I just have this horrible feeling that no matter how good it is, it's not going to live up to the hype or the nostalgia, because I'm going to watch this movie and I am going to be watching it with full nostalgia goggles on, and if it doesn't live up to it, I'm not going to like it, because I know what I'm like, because as I say, Hocus Pocus is such a big part of my childhood. Ghostbusters. And
so is this going to be the female, the reaction to the female Ghostbusters for females?
I think no, because I think like Hocus Pocus isn't just a chick flick. I know a lot of guys that are very into Hocus Pocus.
Really? I've not met any at all. Wow,
Oh,
The
I trust me.
one thing I would say is
Oh, I
that
do. I trust you.
you've already given the game away because you said you're going to be sitting there and you're going to be watching it. They know you are. They've worked
Yeah.
out how many people are going to be doing it. So that's
Which
why they're going for it. That's why we're talking about the artistic and the oh Christ, worthiness of
I was
bunging that name on it, and why they box up so many people do bad remakes that crash horribly because they missed the point.
Yeah.
I think the biggest problem I have with it currently is the very brief plot synopsis that we get is literally the first movie, but you take out the teenage boy.
Yeah.
It's three young women, technically. It's not teenagers, it's young women bring the Sanderson. Whereas before it was a 14-year-old boy, a 14-year-old girl, and his 10-year-old sister. Oh, and the talking cat that was voiced by McGee from NCIS.
You got me sold.
I know,
I guess
but
I'll
that's
have
the
to
first.
watch Hocus Pocus.
Oh, trust me, Andrew, you'll really like it. The special effects in it are amazing. Oh, come on, you've got to admit, Billy Butcherson, when he comes out of that grave and cuts his mouth open. Like, again, I'm thinking about this, I'm like, how is this a kid's movie? They raise the dead, they talk about the fact that Sarah Sanderson poisoned her boyfriend, and then she sewed his lips shut so he couldn't tell her secrets even in death, and then he cuts it open and...
Because...
I'm gonna be honest with you, when he first said it, I didn't think he said what he said.
Kids love horror.
Yeah.
They do.
Kids absolutely adore horror. They are, there's something playful about it that they're drawn to. It's the spookiness, it's the non-reality. Like Hugh was saying, he knows loads of people in animation who are huge horror fans. Yeah, I mean, I know a lot of horror fans, and they're all you're not drawn to the gore, you're not drawn to the terror, you're drawn to the ridiculousness, to the fun factor. You
Yeah,
know?
and I suppose Hocus Pocus was a PG when a PG rating actually meant something.
Yes.
Because, like, let's be honest, now if you see a PG rating on something, you're like, what's going to happen? Is someone going to stub their toe? Or are they going to run out of...
Contains mild peril.
Yes.
Okay, I keep watching series on like Netflix where it's like intense emotional scenes, and I'm like, it's a PG, and where are these intense emotional scenes? I have yet to see a single one, and I'm 5 seasons in.
Yes, but you're dead inside. So I am as well. I've been sitting through these ones of tense emotional scenes, and I've just been like, when does it get funny? Big Apple Jam's just like, no, this is a murder investigation program, Andrew.
Oh, I know. I keep watching all these things about serial killers, and I'm just like, I'm just going to lock my door, and that's about all I can take away from that. But, like, I am all for nostalgia. I'm all for things being done. If they do something different enough that it adds to the original and doesn't just remake, like remakes, I have a problem with, because why would you remake it if you're not going to just...
We've covered 100 times before. Oh, damn it!
Did you just turn Jenna off?
No, I did not.
I don't know. You and those buttons,
Just Mark,
Andrew.
bring Jenna back.
Could be the internet at her end.
Yeah.
We have this problem when we record real history.
Ah, she returns.
What do we have? Me disappearing?
Yeah.
Yes.
Ah.
But like, I mean, as I say, as you said, like Disney's already got my money. I'm gonna watch Hocus Pocus 2 when it comes out next year, because
that's why they do remakes. It's just when they do a duff one, I'm always like, but you had the chance to do something good.
I was really excited.
Live action remakes.
I was really excited because Adam Shankman was supposed to be directing it, but he's not, because he's doing Disenchanted, which is the sequel to Enchanted. So
all
that
the best people I know are dead inside. Don't worry,
and now it's being done by Anne Fletcher, and the 2 movies that she's done that I know are The Proposal and 27 Dresses.
Both of which
yeah, I like them too. So I'm like
27 Dresses.
Yeah, but Adam Shankman did Hairspray, and I was like, I want to see that version of Hocus Pocus. I want to see the Hairspray.
That would be cool. I do wonder how much of the final green light on it was not just, oh, we know there's a cult following, but oh, look, WandaVision.
But also, I think it's also, like, if you think about it, like, the people who grew up watching Hocus Pocus, who made it a cult classic, are now the people making movies. So they're So it was like, I'm sure somebody on the movie went to Disney and was like, hey, this movie from my childhood was amazing, can we do a sequel? And they're like, well, you're under contract with us for this, and he's like, I will only sign the contract if I can make this movie. And then it's like, okay.
I also think Bette Midler and Sarah Jessica Parker probably just turned around and went, yeah, all right, we like money, we'll do this.
I mean, Bette Midler has always said that if this project ever goes ahead and she's still alive, she'll do it. She doesn't care how old she is, she'll do it.
I mean, it always stuns me when people are like, oh my god, I saw this remake, the movie was crap, but the guy from the original series turned up for a cameo. How could they do that? And I'm like, he probably made more in one day's work than he made last year. Just get over it,
Yeah.
People need it.
But I mean, I suppose I'm reminded slightly of when they said they were restarting Doctor Who, and I was like, okay. And then it came out, and I'm like, I'm sorry I ever doubted you. So, like, as I say,
there have been a bunch of good remakes. There have been a bunch of good reimaginings. It's just some of this stuff, they're picking it up, and it's just like, wow, this thing that everyone liked because it was round. What if we made it square?
I mean, you just have to look at Riverdale. Like, the first season of Riverdale. The first season of Riverdale was brilliant. I thought it was amazing. It was slightly stupid in parts, but then the comics were slightly stupid occasionally. But then season 2 happened, and I'm like, what happened? Who was smoking what?
No, I as has been noted on live from the Super Fortress, I had to give up on Riverdale because it just reached a point. I have a theory. There are 3 writing teams, okay, and there is one typewriter, and every time they get to the end of a scene, they have a fight, a full-blown fist fight, and whoever wins that gets to write the next scene, and that is why why there seems to be 3 or 4 stories running through it, and B, everything is written like someone who's got a major concussion was behind it.
I mean,
that's my theory. I stand by it. I have presented it to the writers, and they've gone, "What the hell? Get off my Twitter!" So,
but your theory kind of adds up with how the Archie comics did it, because you had the whole Betty and Veronica thing, you had the Jughead thing, you had the Moose and whatever his girlfriend's name was, I forget what her name was, she didn't appear very often, and then you had the Sabrina the Teenage Witch who would appear randomly, because that was a remake that worked really well, The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, because it wasn't a remake, it was actually based on a comic book series, which is also really good. So if you haven't read that, go find it.
But even that had a lot of connection to the original Sabrina. That was taking the thing and they were rolling with what made the original thing cool. And going back to what we're saying about the Powerpuff Girls, if they're worried about it being campy and ridiculous and stupid, it's like, but that's what the series was. And that's why people loved it, because it was mad.
I'm kind of hoping that the Powerpuff Girls is going to be a bit like the Descendants movie franchise, where it's like, why does this work? But it does.
You know what? I would absolutely love a Powerpuff remake that worked, but I really, really, really don't think live action is the place for it. I just don't. And the fact that it's Greg Berlanti, and I mean, I've watched all his career as he's done all the DC TV stuff from Arrow onwards, and he's expanded his remit, and he did stuff like Blind Spot and doing thrillers and things. And I get why they hired him to do it. I get that, right? But it's like every time they try to remake Charlie's Angels, they just get it wrong. Because it is just a thing that works a certain way at a certain time with a certain team. And if you're not going to get people with the same sensibilities in that team, like whoever's making this new one, I just don't think the leaked script, which everyone thought might be a fake, now that they've come around and said, oh no, we're going to reboot it already, they've admitted that it is a real draft of the script. The fact that they're talking about, one of the girls is saying to the other girls, oh, I'll leak your nudes if you're not careful, and things like that. And you're like, I think you've got the wrong end of the stick, guys. You've got the wrong end of the stick.
Yeah, I mean, I was quite excited by it when I saw that Dove Cameron was in it, because I actually really like her as an actress. But
yeah, me too.
All the promotional pictures of it, where they've sort of like put them in their blue, pink, and green outfits, it's just like, you've kind of missed the mark. So what? Like, the whole point of the Powerpuff Girls, the reason it worked was they were kindergartners who were superheroes. That was the
Yes,
premise.
that's
That
the
was the
point.
whole point. And now
And it
they're
was really cute and silly.
yeah, and now it's like they're late teens, early 20s, and they're kind of angry looking.
I can understand why they did that, because it's a lot easier to get reliable actors that look like that than it is to get them looking pre-kindergarten. So I have no problem with them changing that up. It's if they can change it up without doing the serious old thing. Ooh, they're now 15, so they all have to be into the TikToks and the streamings and the sexings and the other
and the
things us
quick
40-year-old
YouTubers.
producers don't understand.
And also, they're gonna like cram the rowdy rough boys in as the some romantic subplot that nobody needs.
God, please don't. Please
And
don't.
like what
No.
like I swear to God, if one of them calls the professor a dilf, I'm going to vomit.
No.
Because like, do you remember the episode where they're helping him get ready for his date, and Bubbles puts the bow on his head, and it's like, no, Bubbles, it goes there. I think it looked cuter the other way. And it's just like, that's what I want. I don't want angsty teens called Bubbles, Blossom, and Buttercup, mostly because that's probably child abuse, calling your children that.
It would be in France.
Yeah, but that's the thing. It's like, I don't want a live action Powerpuff Girls. I want a CGI Powerpuff Girls a la the Miraculous Ladybug and Chat Noir. That's what I want. I don't want live action because I don't think it's going to work. Like the Winx saga didn't work. Like, if you hadn't called it the Winx saga, I'd have probably liked it more, but you called it Winx and now I hate you.
And the thing is, quickly going back to something like Ladybug, it's really, really dumb, and which is the reason I love it. And it's got a massive adult following already without, like, needing to make it dark.
But it is quite dark in places.
Yeah, it is. It's had some really dramatic stuff happen, especially season 4 being released. It's like, oh my God! And
it's like they have a sliding scale. We've got the little the Quaimies at one end, which is the adorably cute, and then you've got the like severe parental neglect and possible abuse at the other end.
Yeah,
and then they just go up and down as needed.
Yes, and they're absolutely destroying the whole of Paris every episode.
That's
okay, well, we've definitely got to see this. Right. Unfortunately, time moves on. So, we're now going to relax, calm down, and jump into a hot tub.
Oh, God. That's so cute. He needs a bikini.
Yes, he does. Because
otherwise,
he hasn't had any beans today, so there's no bubbles.
Ew. Lowering the tone.
So is he completely naked in there? So that is definitely going through to off tones and stuff.
That would definitely be off the TNC. I don't know what rules they have on dinosaurs, but
I mean, he's a dinosaur. He doesn't have any like bits to show. Lizards, it's all inside.
Yeah,
that's true.
No. I've
learned some interesting things from fanfic, and that is one of them.
Station Controller would be able to give you the full breakdown of the physiology of our mascot. But anyway, Jenna, you had an introduction to make.
Sorry, my husband just appeared and gave me a look of what the
oh, yeah.
So, right. Twitch has decided to ban people from making ad money if they are wearing a bikini in a hot tub.
Well, they had
that basically sums it up really quickly. It's really dumb because oh my I don't know how to explain it.
I know the quick version, if that's any help.
Yeah, please.
Okay. So Twitch decided to ban people from being in hot tubs because of the quote-unquote hot tub meta. Because a lot of women being in hot tubs got quite popular on the just chatting fronts. And people kicked up a stink. So they went, oh, no, I had money for you and we're pulling your channel and all that, even though it doesn't break the TNC. And then they suddenly decided, actually, no, you can be on there, but only if you don't have any ad money, because that would be bad. And then they decided, yeah, but we're going to have what we're going to do instead is hot tubs and bikinis can only be worn in the hot tub and bikinis section. Which was just, it was an I don't know what you guys are like for watching the news on streaming channels. It was an entertaining 72 hours as they just scrambled to come up with an idea of what their long-term policy was going to be.
I got mental whiplash from the like, you can't do this, but no, you can do this, but now no, you can't do it, but you can do it, but you can't have this, and it's like, which way are we going?
Yeah,
It's like, I mean, like, I'm gonna, as a staunch feminist, I'm gonna bring up that it's only been women in bikinis that got this issue, whereas like you'd have men doing it and they're fine. And
Men wearing bikinis would be absolutely glorious.
Jen,
Yeah,
you have to get your husband to do on his Twitch.
yeah.
But like,
He doesn't go on camera. That's the problem.
Yeah,
so he
like,
could just say he's in a bikini. So, so Beardcraft Gamer, isn't it?
sweetie, we don't have room for a hot tub.
They regardless. I mean, these were regardless of what you think about, these were content producers who had not broken the rules.
Exactly.
They had these. Also, the added layer of advertisers were not keen on having ads associated with that form of streaming. Fair enough. Yeah. No, right. I get that. But
have you? This is going to sound like a really random tangent. How do you know the game Lily's Garden?
Yes.
No.
Yeah. Their ad, do you know the ads for them?
Yeah, she's always like pregnant and her partner leaves
Are
her.
these as bad as the ones for what was it? Clan War?
Clash of Clans?
Clash of Clans that had the bikini model running around in them.
Yeah. They're a bit more they're more clothed. But
it's daytime soap opera-esque.
Yeah, and there is an entire advert of her just sitting on a washing machine. Making O face.
Right. Okay.
The thing that people said that's interesting about this is if a YouTuber, so yeah, we're moving to a different streaming site.
No.
Wants to discuss this, their content will be not allowed to have ads on it. But the ads themselves are breaking YouTube's terms of services.
Yeah.
But they're absolutely fine to run. Yes, I know there's a difference because they're paying for them. But at the same time, it's like one rule for one, rule for the other kind of thing.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
I mean,
they are different services, but it is the way the different services are handling the topic.
Yeah.
I think a lot of this is also to do with the societal ideas of the female body and what is acceptable. Because let's be honest, we have a very, very Victorian mindset still in media about women shouldn't be showing things and making money off of it because God forbid the woman use her body to make money because that's not what capitalism is or anything.
But have you seen the adverts for I don't know, for bloody anything?
But yeah, that's the thing. But that's the thing. Sex sells.
That's someone else making the money.
That sex sells as long as the advertiser is the one making the money off of it. But when a woman tries to make money off her own sexuality, that is when the problem becomes.
Yeah.
But in addition to that, it isn't just in the media. I mean, did you see that headline? Was it today or yesterday about the American high school that photoshopped 30 of the girls' pictures in the yearbook, high school yearbook, because they decided
really badly.
Yeah, badly as well, because they decided that the what they were wearing was inappropriate. Even when you look at it, you're like, not only is that not inappropriate, that still sticks with your actual rules that you cited.
The thing is, like, the worst one I saw was this amount of clean. And I'm sorry, I don't know what made me angrier, the blatant misogyny of the whole thing or the terrible Photoshop, because with me it was kind of a toss-up between the two, and I was like, no, I'm just going to be mad about the whole thing.
Yeah.
But
you don't have to choose when it comes to these things. You can be angry at all of it.
Yeah. The amount of times that I've been told off because I've worn a shirt that's accidentally a bit too revealing. I have assets.
Vast tracts of land, darling.
Pardon?
Vast tracts of land.
Yes. which I can't help.
Yeah.
And just
Anyway.
because it's distracting male colleagues, it's inappropriate. But they can wear pretty much anything they want.
Yeah, I mean, I always like if people are like, well, it's a sin, and I'm like, no, Jesus said if men are like distracted by a woman's body, you should pluck your own eyeballs out. So get on with that.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And, that's exactly it. And I think that's what it comes down to. I mean, the people in charge of these things are the same old. And even if they're not as old, they have been raised in the same way. And it's like these people running these high schools. They're idiots.
But it's the fact that somebody saw these pictures of children and went, no, that is inappropriate because it makes me feel things. And then nobody's questioning that.
Away
from
those. We as you say, we had this thing that the advertising was being pulled from these things, but there was no notice being given. So these people who had used the situation, they had not breaking the rules, and then suddenly they have this, like you said, whiplash of the whole thing and the indecision of it. The thing I found very, very interesting was every one of these decisions was presented as a final decision. So in a 3-day period, you had 3 what were presented as this is the final word rolled out. We have people in charge of huge swathes of popular culture. Even if you don't watch any of these channels, there is no way you are not picking up the vibe of what is happening, because you got enough, apart from anything else, you got enough blokes on Twitch moaning about these things on Twitch, because nothing sells more than blokes claiming they never look at women in swimsuits. And they're making these knee-jerk reactions that have no planning. They have almost no clue. And it's so wildly different. Like you were saying, the YouTube has said you can't take one of our adverts and then discuss it on your YouTube channel.
Yeah. You can discuss it. You just can't get your money for ads.
Yeah.
But the whole Twitch thing, though, they were trying. So basically, they were like, the advertisers got in touch and were like, we don't like this. We don't want our ads on this content. And then the content creators went, well, I'm going to go to a different platform. And Twitch were just stuck between the proverbial rock and a hard place, because without ad money, they have no money, and without content creators, they have nowhere to run their ads. So
surely there must be some ad creators that would be perfectly happy to be on that sort of content.
Yeah,
possibly.
But they're probably not the big money ones, because I mean, I'd be honest with you, I don't pay any attention. Yeah, but I don't pay any attention to the Twitch ads. I have no idea what they're selling.
The problem you get is that people don't want to be if people think there is a problem, they don't want to be associated with it at all. So people would there would be that tendency to turn around and go, oh, we're worried that our product will get associated with this scandal. We will pull the advertising, or they get worried that they will pull the advertising. Or what quite often happens is people say they will get these companies worried about the association, and they will then have them pull. There's a lot of smoke and mirrors. To me, it was also very interesting. This was happening at the same time as the TikTok situation was going down, but they were just wholesale banning people for the same thing. I mean, you've read through the full listings. I don't quite know where they ended up on their decision. But
it sort of seems a bit confusing, to be honest.
The thing with the TikTok situation, though, is like you'll get a creator who's banned for, like, she's a reality TV star, I forget what she was in. She was banned for dancing. She was banned for dancing in her living room in a pair of shorts because she has a curvier figure. She's but then you've got 16-year-olds doing exact same thing, dancing in their living room in a pair of shorts and a tank top, and they're not banned for the same reason. It's sort of that there's this sort of double standard. It's like, this person's got banned for doing this, well, why hasn't this person? Oh, well, it's not the same thing. No, it literally, other than the body types, it's the same thing. Like, it's the same song, it's the same dance, it's like literally it's the trend that they're doing. And it's like, why?
I think it's very it's very complicated. I'm not going to make any moral judgments here. I'm going to say that purely from a technical viewpoint, there are so many factors to bring into consideration. But like you were saying earlier, men can't show their nipples now either. Okay, that's great. That's a nice clear rule. No nipples. Fine. But societally, they are seen as two very different things. And the behavior of someone at a certain age compared to the behavior of someone at another age, these are really, you're trying to apply nuanced, complicated, multifaceted social situations to decisions that the person reviewing it is going to be making in 2, maybe 3 seconds.
Also, their own personal biases are going to come through to it.
Oh yeah.
So
I
if you,
think. Sorry.
I
you-
was going to say, if you have one person looking at the 2 different TikTok dances that are exactly the same, apart from one slightly sexier because of her body type, you can have one person go, no, that's fine, and one person go, oh, think of the children. So,
Well, and
that's
there's
what
also
sometimes a lot of that comes down to, think of the children, and it's like, I let Evie see boobs.
But I mean, in addition to gender, there's race as well.
Yeah,
You know,
that's
it's
true as well.
the policing of the body type is as much a part of the problem here.
Mm.
You know.
Yeah, as I say, a lot of the people who are getting banned on TikTok for very arbitrary reasons are women, people of color, women with certain body types. It's also happening to men, but again, they are in a minority. They might be like, they're not the thirst trap sort of body type.
Yeah, it's more the one I was reading about a black gentleman that basically a load of alt-right people started attacking him because he made a joke that was racist against a white person, which no, that's not how that works.
You can't punch up.
No, and it's kind of, so because people complained, mostly alt-right people, which, does TikTok really want to cater to alt-right people? Do you want to be seen as that?
It depends. If they're the ones paying the ad money.
Tactic.
Mm.
Who are the advertisers?
Yeah, it gets further complicated because there has been a lot of the discussion about that kicked off the whole bikini thing on the Twitch side was because of people essentially going on there and complaining that people were making money by doing these shows and complaining that and being upset. That's a lot of these are professional Twitchers or professional YouTubers, by which I mean people who make money, essentially complaining that someone else was doing their job better than them. And I think that, you know, are they doing that because it's a hot topic? Are they doing that because their audience cares that significantly about it? Are they doing it? In some instances, I'm looking at it, I'm like, dude, that audience isn't going to turn around, come on your channel and buy you a graphics card. You know, that's, there is so much, the background and the rumbling behind it and the way this actually became a story. That is half of the story, is how it became a story.
It's maybe the kind of look, women are cheating to the top because all they have to do is show some cleavage and they can be at the top of Twitch. While look at me, I'm a mid-tier Twitch person. I'm working really hard on my gaming, but I haven't got much of a thing. But
I'm angry about video games and she's cheating by having boobs.
Yeah, it's like,
yeah, but even before the whole hot tub and bikini debate happened, or are we calling it Bikini Gate? Can we call it Bikini Gate? Please God, can we call it Bikini Gate?
Yes, it is Bikini Gate.
Before that even happened, like, female streamers were getting attacked for all sorts of reasons. Like, you know, being a woman on the internet is not a fun experience most of the time. No. I am an old bitter woman, and come at me, bros, because literally I have zero.
I am
prayers to give anymore. Yes, thank you.
By feminist mother on the internet. Yeah.
I'm an out pansexual disabled woman on the
disabled as
internet.
well.
And it's like, yeah, okay. Yeah, well, you're cheating. I'm like, how am I cheating? Well, it's female privilege. And I'm like, in what way is this female privilege? Like, please tell me how my female privilege has helped me in life. Because I would love to hear this. Oh, well, women don't get like charged as harshly for crimes as men do. And I'm like, I've never committed a crime, so your argument has no leg here. It's like this so-called myth of the female privilege. Like, there's the old standby of, oh, women can get out of sex by faking a headache, and I'm like, no, the fact that women have to do that to get out of sex is the problem.
Because isn't enough.
And it's like, but no, again, this is again the whole age-old thing of being female or female presenting on the internet, or trans, or any of the minorities on the internet that is not cis, het, and white and male, is the vocal minority. Because let's be honest, while there are a lot of white people, there's actually not as many of them as, say, all the minorities put together, but they are the loudest on the internet, and that is the problem. It's because they see it as some sort of competition that she's got boobs and she's in a bikini, so she's obviously got more points than me, so now I'm going to cry cheating. And I'm like, these are the people are exactly the reasons I stopped playing Magic the Gathering, because every tournament I went to, I was accused of cheating because I was a woman, because I beat them.
Right.
So
that's not how Magic the Gathering works.
Do we have time to talk about where categorization leads in this sort of thing?
Please go for it. This is the thing. I'm interested in the techniques people are using, because apart from anything else, quite often with these things, you see a trend in content hosts. This time, it's gone all over the show. There is no system people have come up with for it.
But I find it interesting that Twitch's response has been to create a category, as opposed to the TikTokers where it's just, we're going to take you down, we're not going to talk about why. With Twitch, I find it very interesting that they want to force it's like, it reminds me of the days of the video shops where you had the beaded curtain to adult films at the back, right? And which I keep seeing in my film fan circles, the clip from The Simpsons parodying that, where Mo goes in there and Bart follows him thinking, oh, and you get in there and it's like Ingmar Bergman and, depressing European films. The best joke ever, right? But I can see something like that happening here, because one of the articles you shared, Andrew, which is absolutely brilliant in prep for this show, was the fact that people are now using the hot tub category to put otters on there.
The number one streaming hot tub is a bunch of otters.
And as a capybara fan, I know for a fact that Capybara World in Japan have a hot tub for the capybaras. I am really hoping that goes on Twitch. I can't think of anything better than, I am at that age now where rather than look at Amaranth in her bikini, I would rather come home and watch a bunch of capybaras.
But it's also various people have now turned around and gone, oh, I was thinking about doing this, but I wasn't sure of the legality of it. But now I'm going to do the hot tub stuff. It's like,
right. I agree with you guys about the advertising. I think it both limits the advertising and it opens it up in the sense that the people who now think that the audience for those things will be their audience can say, fine, that's the channel. Yeah, as somebody who used to have to spend money on advertising, I know how this will work. There will be a tick box on a form with a set of channels, and you'll go, you'll look at the numbers for that channel, and you go, yes, I want that. You look at the demographic and go, okay, that's a reason to be on that channel, and so forth and so on. Ultimately, it won't. They'll earn less, I think, in general. But I think Twitch themselves will carry on making their money. That's really what this is all about, and giving them a separate category. I'm very intrigued with the TikTok thing, because one of the things that interests me about TikTok is its Chinese ownership. And I do wonder who exactly they're using, because of course there was that point where the previous American president was looking at challenging TikTok and saying you have to have American-based people making these decisions. So that culturally, content is the way we see it.
TikTok's also an interesting one because it's Chinese-based, but there have been a lot of people observing that or suggesting that it kind of really wants to get away from Chinese control, because maybe it can make more money if it's not.
Clearly. But then you do
Which
wonder if this is
is
part of the problem. You do
Yeah.
wonder if this is part of the problem. There's a very particularly talking about people of color and the body type shapes. You know, this, I hate to say this, but this fits with certain strains of racism and sexism we have seen before
Yeah.
coming out of certain elements of Chinese culture when you
Yeah.
encounter them.
So,
I mean, my
with-
dad went there a few times for work in the 80s, and he absolutely hated it. As an Indian man, he hated being in China. He absolutely detested it and never wanted to go back.
So-
Because he just thought the racism was just so in your face and utterly blatant. He was like, I haven't had anything like this in South Africa. He says, I don't need to put up with it.
So, like, the thing with the TikTok thing, and obviously this is taken with a very large grain of salt, because obviously there is no confirmation that this is how TikTok is run, but it is
True.
inversions that people have made. And the thing with TikTok is that apparently a lot of their system is automated. So, like, if an account gets mass reported, it gets taken down until a human being can review it, and you can submit a request to TikTok to review it, and then the hope is that you get a human being to review it again, or you might get another bot, and then you have to go.
It would be reviewed by a
Yeah.
human.
But the people aren't sure at what point you get a human being, because a lot of the time it appears to be a standard computer response to, you have been banned for this reason, you will be allowed to post again in so many days, and then because there's no one way to contact TikTok. You can contact them through the app, but that usually gets you the standard canned automated response. And there are multiple different emails that people have like posted around the app saying, if you email this one, you'll get a person. If you email this one, you won't get a person. And what a lot of creators think is happening is, because if you don't fit a certain type of mold of, say, a very large majority of the viewers, there are accounts on TikTok whose only reason to exist is that they go and find people who don't fit in their view of the world. So people of color, women, body shapes, disabilities, and they get all their followers to go and mass report these people for anything and everything. So then the person gets taken down.
That's what happens on YouTube as well, with like a lot of left tube stuff.
It's brigading. Brigading has been around for years.
And the issue that a lot of the creators are having with TikTok for that reason is because it's all automated and it's so hard to talk to a human being, that they get banned and they either lose their verification tick, which is a bit like Twitter's, where you get a tick to say this is. But on TikTok, it's really hard to get, and once you lose it, it's almost impossible to get it back. And if you lose it, you can't go into, I think it's called the Creator Fund, where people can buy TikTok currency and then give you that TikTok currency, and then you can use it for. I don't understand it because I'm not in the Creators Fund, and this is what multiple like accounts that I've watched have said it is. And the thing is, if you get banned, apparently TikTok gets to keep the money. You don't have. So that's.
I do not think that would be an incentive for them to do it.
No, but that is. I'm not
legally. That would be a nightmare.
I can't even get confirm that is true. This is just the big I don't even want to call it a conspiracy theory, because there's a lot of because it's not just one or two creators saying this on the app. Like, I watch a wide range on TikTok.
It's safe to say these are black box. These are black box systems. We don't know what's going inside of them. I think it would also be safe to say that TikTok has made its choice as to what it reckons is the long-term plan, and that seems to be its bang. It is interesting that the culture, the internal cultural side of it, seems to have a lot of influences on what's going on, as well as any just as much as any structural elements of it. Anyway.
A lot of there's a lot of, I want to say, alt-right, gun-toting the South shall rise again TikTok accounts on there, and they're the ones that have the mass followers who go and do the brigading. But I was watching, there's a woman on there who got banned. She was doing a live stream of her ducks. She has pet ducks, and she educates people on how to care for a pet duck, because it's not an easy pet to have, but a lot of people are like, it's cute. She was literally showing a live of her ducklings, and she got banned in the middle of her live stream, and it's like, what happened?
That is a curious choice.
Yeah,
anyway.
I was like, it's cute. Fluffy
We
ducks.
unfortunately we're running out of time on this one, and yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how it works out. Other things that'll be interesting to see working out.
Yeah.
So, for those who don't know,
No.
It
this
was
is
already a
now,
disease hellscape as it was.
It's just like conflu plus COVID. Yay!
So each month we ask our patrons for topic suggestions. We put them along with a couple of other interesting stories from our community. They decide what we're going this month. It was overwhelmingly voted for by the community, which you can find at the Stomping Grounds on Facebook. Literally, no, they didn't vote for anything else. Our lovely community would like to talk about the impending return of MCM Comic Con. MCM Comic Con being the premier, largest major convention and series of conventions in the UK scene. Less than a week ago, MCM Comic Con, who are owned by Repopped, said that they were going to be starting their conventions. At the moment, they're looking at the 22nd to 24th of October, MCM Comic Con at Excel. That's the London gig. And then 13th to 14th November at the NEC Birmingham. So effectively, look south and up north. Sorry, I'm going to
Birmingham's
die
not up
now.
north.
Birmingham's not north.
Birmingham is not up
Birmingham's
north, but it is
Midlands.
the one that they go to. That then is then the Midlands and the North go to. Although having said that, a lot of people from the Midlands go to the Cambridge one. That's what. To the London one. So it's like that's what I'm saying. It's the difference. Anyway, screw my geography. In the letter, they stated that they have said there's going to be a lot of safety at the event. There's going to be stated the importance of safety as COVID vaccines are being administered and guidelines are easing. So some of this is going to be their policies, and some of this is going to be administrative policies imposed on them by the government. Decide which will be harder amongst yourself. They have said our number one priority is the well-being and safety of everyone at our shows. We see a path towards safe, amazing events that are going to look a bit different than we're used to. They have said this will include shows will be run with reduced capacity to ensure social distancing. They're working closely with each convention center and following governmental guidelines to determine how many people are permitted in the building every day and at a given time. Face coverings will be required by law for everyone entering the event unless you are exempt. Must be worn at all times within event venues. They'll have increased sanitization and cleaning with enforced physical distancing throughout the event. Yes, they may have actually come and given needlessly aggressive wet dream of issuing the traders with tasers. That would make me so happy. And also, MCM will adopt a firm no handshake, no high five, no hug policy. They've yet to reveal how panels, autographs, or photo sessions will be run. Presumably, they would be on similar guidelines. I mean, panels, you just have more spacing. Autographs, you can do autographs with social distancing, obviously. Photo sessions, I don't know. Get the guy who did all the photo jiggery for Lord of the Rings and use perspective tricks. I don't know. They're going to be coming that so. And this I'm going to be asking with regards to what they have said they will be enforcing. Is going to be my first thing. I mean, how broadly do you feel about events restarting, and do you think these rules are appropriate? Are you Iron Manning their arguments? Iron Manning their safety case.
Okay, so
Would you be happy that these would work?
no, because I mean, when I read that letter, I wanted to like reply to it and go, "Have you been to one of your
we're
own
Iron
events?"
Manning. We're Iron Manning it. First round is Iron Manning it.
I don't know
Assuming
what
they
that
can,
means.
that means you assume the best case.
No, I don't.
Would you? Okay, assuming that these would work for the sake of, because I can turn you off.
The geeky teens actually.
Assuming that, yes, for the third time, assuming that these could actually go in place, does the theory of these? I mean, does it even sound like a fun event to you? Is this because you're worried that they won't actually keep these rules? Because again,
No, again, it doesn't sound fun at all, because the whole fun of going to Expo is that you see masses of cosplayers like all congregating on the steps and
Yeah.
taking photos. You can sit on the stairs and like see across the lawn every single fandom ever. And I mean, how are they going to like social? Like, let's be honest, MCM is a giant dealer's room. So what? You've got to walk 3 miles to the next table.
I don't
Excel's
know.
big, I'll give them that, but how
Yeah.
like how are they spacing out the dealer tables? Because the
They
artist
have-
alley,
they
you're on
have-
top of each other.
The current, based on the current, on my understanding of the current rulings, you would be looking at about half. You'd be able to use the same layout, but you would remove half the tables. So the density would be the same. You'd just have half as many. So not the density. The areas would be, broadly speaking, the same. You just have half as many.
So they might actually
things in
sort
the
out
area.
the bottleneck situations.
I mean, it might do.
I mean,
you have.
let me just put this in perspective, right? As a school teacher, having to put into place a number of the things you've asked for, right, and working in an institution that has far more problems in terms of buildings and access and ins and out compared to Excel, for example. Like Excel, at least you have one way in, one way out for the public, and then anything else along the external sides you can control, you can close off, right? So I think, and also they can do the density thing you just described. I can't do that. I've got 31 kids across the table, across the standard table arrangement in the room, because there is no way I can halve that. No way I can halve that. So realistically, if they are willing to take a hit financially or charge the people less who are coming, also charge them more rather, then I can see the event being put on. I can see them having a go, but my understanding of everything you just said is that even in an Iron Man situation, the reality is that a number of those things will not function with numbers above. Like when they say it's going to be reduced capacity, they don't say how many.
No,
And
they
that's
haven't.
the key.
They
We're
haven't.
dealing with 1,000 kids a day plus the adults, and we cannot manage what they're trying to manage. And we do testing, and we do all kinds of things. So
again, this is a 2-part. This is we're doing the Iron Man section, and then we're doing the actual reality section.
No, but I'm saying that even the Iron Man situation is still not going to work, is what I'm saying. And therefore, I don't see how it can be fun. I just don't think the Iron Man, even at the best scenario, is still fraught.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is the Iron Man scenario? It's not, because you have to take into account that the Iron Man scenario only works if you take out the people. As soon as you put people in it, it's going to go wrong. So the Iron Man scenario does not work even at the starting.
Being nice for the purposes of conversation, which are wonderful.
Yes.
Have asked for, and if the conversation is no, that's not a good conversation. No, okay. Going back to some of the points raised, they haven't said what the reduced number will be. They also haven't said what the ticket prices will be. So you do have the question of, if they keep the ticket at the same price, but you've got half of the stuff at the event, is that worth the ticket? As has been commented out below, the fun is gone. Not being able to hug your friends. For a lot of people, there is the social element of it. And especially at the moment when, let's face it, we miss hugging our friends. Although hugging is allowed again. Or they use more of the venue. I don't think there is any more of the MC. They can't use more of the venue.
They can use the whole thing.
They are.
No, because at XL
they use the whole thing.
No, they've never used the entirety of the XL Center. There's usually a caravan show or something else on.
Yeah, you're right. There's always been.
It's always other things on. They use.
There was one time there was Nickelodeon Awards, which was quite funny.
When did you guys last go?
My favorite one was when they had the Islamic scholars convention.
I remember that.
And you had all these Muslim girls coming out talking to cosplayers wearing very little, and they're in their hijabs. They're all talking about the same anime. It was brilliant. It was the most wonderful meetup. Anyway, sorry.
But I can't confirm this, and I will not name my source, but apparently one of the things that's been bandied about for the XL tickets is that you will get a time slot. When they haven't confirmed that this is going to happen.
No, they have effectively confirmed that. Where are we? Guidance to determine how many people are permitted in the building every day and at a given time. The only way you can guarantee at a given time is by having time slots.
Yeah, so
That
basically,
is tacitly confirmed.
But basically, so what one of the things that has been talked about is that they will reduce the price of the ticket, and you will get maybe like a 2-hour, or they haven't worked. The fine details have not been worked out, but
They have not.
you will get a morning, an afternoon, and then a late afternoon slot, and that is the time that you are allowed to be in the XL Centre. If you are in the XL Centre before your time, then you will be asked to leave until your time is happening. And if you are in afterwards, the security guards will ask you very politely to leave.
How do they know?
Because
Presumably
wristbands,
there'll be color coding.
They're color coded wristbands.
Yeah.
What they haven't, again, this is all very up in the air. They haven't worked it out because they don't know right now.
But if the simplest way to do it would be color coding. But you also, I mean, there are issues with that. But I mean, a number of people have said that you can do the whole of MCM in 2 hours. So
Yeah,
like,
I have.
you can.
That might actually give the game away a bit.
But the problem is that if they're going to run panels and you have bought a time slot, say 9 till 11, and the panel you want to go to is at 3 o'clock,
Yeah, exactly.
you have to then buy a ticket again for that time slot.
Do not know.
That's what I'm saying. Is like, I love their optimism. I love that they think that they can run an event like MCM in 2021. I love that they want to try.
Yeah.
But I love the fandoms that go to this thing, but I have worked enough MCMs to know that you cannot herd cats and you cannot herd nerds on a mission.
Yeah.
Nerds on a mission.
If you have a group of nerds and they want to go to a particular stall or area, they're gonna go. No. Yes, speedrun MCM. Oh my god, Supermarket Street MCM. But this is the thing. They're like, enforce social distancing. How are you going to do that? You're going to put everyone in Zorbs?
There are manners that can be done. Again, we haven't got to the pointing out all the innate. I mean, I'm looking at this, and I'm instantly like, I am not looking at this and feeling optimistic about it. Assuming it works fine, okay. Number one, it's going to be murder to get a ticket. Absolute murder. The chances of getting a ticket, because you've got all those weebs, all those punters desperate to go to a convention. I am 100% sure this will sell out. I'm 100% sure it'll be carnage to get a ticket, so I am not going to bother trying to get my hopes up. It's just going to be bump.
Also, logistically as well with it, like, just the sheer amount of bathrooms in the MCM is not enough for that many people, even without social distancing. So
there's going to be less people there than usual.
Yeah, but there's still going to be
not enough bathrooms.
There's still not enough. You've got the bathrooms downstairs, and then there's a couple along the concourse, and that's kind of it. And you've got, if you think about
the bathroom problem will be less because there will be less people.
But they'll still, but that's the problem, is that normally Expo has 25,000 people attend over the weekend.
Right.
And so if you halve that for 3 days, that's still more people than the bath. Like, what, are they going to have someone stationed there literally to wipe down the entire bathroom before someone can go back in? That's what I'm saying.
I understand what you're saying now. You're saying that using them and keeping the bathrooms hygienic, COVID safe. That is an issue. I mean, I'm looking at this, and again, going back to it, assuming they could get it to work this way, the given time thing, that if they can make that work brilliantly, great. But that's going to be an absolute ball ache, because you've got to get there. You know, if I can only get a ticket for the 9 till 12 slot, I can't just mosey in at midday and go. And if something goes wrong, the tension, the pressure that will put on the situation, that to me is reducing my fun.
And also the amount of neurodiverse people that you have going as well. That's going to cause an issue.
That's a deadline.
And disabled in general.
Yeah. So that is reducing the fun factor to me. if they can make it work perfectly, the perfect system is still a bit of a pain in the arse.
But also the other people that the other side of it is not just the attendees, but the dealers. How do you, if you say sell plushies, how do you keep that COVID safe? Do you have because you get look, we've all gone shopping at MCM or anywhere like that, and you've gone and you're like, oh, cool, is that the plushie I want? You pick it up. Oh no, it's not. You put it back. So how does that work? Are they going to have to bag everything? Is everything going to have to be wiped down? Are you not going to be able to touch stuff? Like as a dealer, and also if they have to raise the price of the tables are already expensive at MCM.
Yeah.
Well, that's the, as a punter, we don't know what the price is going to be. As someone who's on the traders list, no idea. But people are assuming it will be bad, but people are also going to pay it because they need the money.
Yeah.
So you are going to get the place filled with stalls. Quick comment from Station Controller. Excel will likely have events running before MCM. Yes, they will. They'll have an idea of what works and what doesn't work. Yes, but I don't think they're going to have anything comparable to MCM. And going back to a comment that was made earlier, if I can find it. Here we go. The steps outside and the local shops won't get locked down. Weeb's going to weeb. Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of MCM happens in areas that they cannot police, as in legally, they can't stop a huge number of weebs congealing in the public areas.
And think of the tube as well. How congested would that be?
Yeah.
I mean, as Just Mark said, I would sooner lick all the handrails in the London Underground than race around Expo in 2 hours in a mask with COVID everywhere.
Yeah.
Yep. Spot on.
I would literally rather go and lick the London Underground than go to Expo.
I know this might sound weird, but there's the other issue of some people have really inappropriate face masks.
Yes.
My husband saw one come into his shoe shop.
Hang on. Just to clarify, we're talking about a weeb event. Are we talking about inappropriate content on the face mask?
Yes.
Or are we... Right, yeah. That does not surprise me. Someone will turn up with a straight up porn mask.
Yeah,
and also
Jack had someone come in to his normal everyday on the high street shop with the mask and a full hoodie with it on. About 14, you said?
About that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
the other part I was going to pick up, enforce social distancing, right? If they can make that work, brilliant. But I walk at a different speed to other people.
Mm-hmm.
How that doesn't... So again, looking at that and like, I mean, the no handshakes, no high fives, and no hugs. Brilliant. I can legally kill someone if they try to glomp me. Not a problem. Absolutely over the moon.
The other thing, though, is they mentioned that you have to wear a mask unless you're exempt.
Yeah.
And I'm going to mention something, and if anyone in chat does this, you are a horrible human being and you will be punished for it later in life. But you can buy those mask exemption cards on the internet, all the lanyards, for 50p.
Yep.
You don't have, so you can say I'm exempt when you're not actually exempt. And I
have seen parents on the school run that I know don't have any conditions that are exempt.
Yeah.
And they have sunflower lanyards. And as someone that wears one because they do have conditions, it gets on my tits. It's just so upsetting because I have it there to show people, because I'm still wearing my mask and I have my sunflower lanyard because I need to show people that I might have difficulties with something. People will say, I can't breathe through a mask. It's like, yes, you can.
So I work with doctors when I'm not signed off work sick because I have a bad back. And somebody phoned up saying they wanted the doctor to write them a letter to say they were exempt from wearing a mask. And I asked the doctor, and he said the only people he would write an exemption letter for would be in an iron lung, and they wouldn't need it because they wouldn't be going anywhere. That's the thing. Like,
that is
there are definitely people who wearing a mask is not advisable for medical reasons, but it is a very small part of the population.
And you're basically concerned that even if they do enforce that, you're going to have people who should be wearing a mask and who could be wearing a mask that will just be jerks.
They'll go on the internet.
Yeah.
It's. I mean, I could literally do it in 2 seconds. I could buy one, but I won't because I am not one of the people it's intended for.
I mean, again, we don't know how that one will be enforced, but
probably the the same way it's enforced when you go to the supermarket and someone's got a card that says they're exempt, but they're not actually, because there's not a lot that the venue can do about it. Like, it's one of those things. Like,
if you've got a mask exempt card, technically you shouldn't be going out.
Exactly, that's the point. You should not be leaving the safety of your house because you are medically at risk of getting COVID.
Exactly.
And so you shouldn't definitely be at Expo.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like, I technically could have a medical exemption for COVID. I don't, because I can wear a mask. It's a piece of paper that goes, a piece of like paper or fabric that goes over my face.
We can agree. You know, people who take the mickey, bad. People who have medical exemptions, yeah. People taking the mickey make their life a lot worse.
I know so many people that could have a medical exemption card, but don't.
Yeah.
And wear masks more strictly than anyone else. Like, again, I think I'm one of the only parents that wears a mask at some points on the school run. Like, as soon as they leave the school gates, everyone's ripping their masks off, and I'm still have it on the walk.
Okay.
I literally, as soon as I am going out of my house,
we
I
got
put
this
a mask
established.
on.
We're good on that. No, it's one of those things that I totally get why you are so passionate about it, because it drives me crazy. But it does boil down to people taking the mickey bad.
Yes.
Yeah.
Horrible bad.
The problem is, like, when you have an event like Expo where you are going to have thousands of people, even with the lower down thing, there is no way that everything they laid out in that letter can be enforced in any way, shape, or form, because people are people, and you have good people, you have people in the middle, and then you have bad people. So
absolutely fair. Even with the stuff they've put on there, it's like, well, how are you going to fit all the people to enforce it in there along with the punters?
Yeah. And also, like, when I go to Expo, I have to be in a wheelchair or a mobility scooter. And how is this going to affect the people who cannot get round Expo very quickly? Because it does sound like it's going to be a speed run. I mean, and let's be honest, most people go to Expo, you go to check out the dealers' tables, see the artist alley, possibly go to a panel, but you mostly go for the social aspect. A lot of people I know certainly do that. You hang out in the Fox Bar or like one of the other bars on the Expo. And it's like, the social part of Expo is kind of why people still go.
Yeah.
And if you take that away, it is literally a giant dealer's room and nothing else. And that is
not like Minami or one of the smaller conventions.
Yeah.
I mean, I could see social distancing kind of working at Minami, but that's because everyone there is a tad little bit more grown up.
It's I would say it is a lot easier to do at residential events of that nature, because there are less people. You can be you are not a face in the crowd.
And also, residential cons, they have you agree to certain behaviors when you buy a ticket, and it does say on your ticket that the convention can revoke your tickets.
Technically, you're under the same thing for something like MCM Expo, but most people aren't worried about that because you are one in a crowd of thousands.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're at a residential, within half a day, enough people know you that if you break the rules, you are out.
Yeah.
So given how unconvinced you guys are about this, would it be fair to say you wouldn't think, even if you did think they could put them in place, you wouldn't think it would be fun?
MCMs to me weren't fun really anyway.
Oh, please. No, okay, that's a different issue.
As soon as I went to dealer side, I couldn't attend as an attendee anymore.
Yeah, fair enough.
Because it's just
for the purposes of discussion.
Yeah.
I mean, what sort of situation would you be happy to go back to events? What are you waiting for before you can return to events? When will you return?
Like Jenna says, I don't know, because I don't know. Like, I don't even feel safe leaving my house at the moment without a mask and full thing. So the thought of going to any event, even a small one like Minami or SunnyCon or Kitacon or Ame, any of those, where I know most of the people and I could, and I would trust the committee to put in force and enforce the regulations. If someone said to me, "Oh yeah, Kita's running next year, beginning of May, or 2022," I don't think I would go because I am that concerned about basically I cannot police other people.
Right.
And despite how hard MCM or any convention committee tries, they cannot police everyone who attends their event, whether dealer, staff, or attendee. And the thought of trusting that many people to behave sensibly causes me very large spikes in anxiety, and it reminds me of a quote that I heard, that a mob is only as smart as its stupidest
Yeah.
member.
So you're basically saying that whilst there is a need for policing, regardless of the event, you don't feel safe going.
No.
That's your level. Okay. Hugh, you were going to say?
Dare I point out that in addition to everything that they've said they are doing, if there is somebody who turns out to have caught COVID having attended the event, they cannot possibly track and trace on that level.
No.
Yeah, they can. They got everyone's address.
Yeah, if you bought a ticket, they can email you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but in terms of who was around, what I mean is in terms of who was around you.
Yeah,
So
I
here's
think
the thing. What I mean is, here's the thing, right? I've got 31 kids in a classroom. I know I have a seating plan. We have to stick to these seating plans religiously because of track and trace. If a kid tests positive at home, we can narrow down who was closest to them at various points in the day. It's not
Right.
perfect, but we have managed to get through nearly a whole school year with far less outbreaks than almost any other school I know in the county, let alone in other counties. And that's because we've established not just a track and trace method, but a regime that the kids themselves are part of. They have to know who they're near. You know what I mean? There's a voluntary element. What I'm trying to understand is, yes, they'll know who you are.
Yeah.
How do they know where you went, who you attended, which events we have?
You don't know your social group.
They've got to track all
My
of that.
response again would be, they've got everyone's email address. They could let everyone know there was an outbreak.
Yeah, but that's thousands you're talking about.
They've got an auto mailer.
They would literally have to email everyone who bought
guys, the exponential level of that's a super spreader beyond your massive mega churches in the States. I mean, that's exactly what London just doesn't need right now, particularly with the variants.
Mate, it's not London. It's all over the show.
Yeah.
But
I'm just saying it's just on that scale alone. Why would I go? Why would you run it? It's just the potential
money.
Because companies are losing massive amounts of money.
Well, tough luck. That's called capitalism.
Yeah, I know, but you asked why they're doing it, and I'm giving you the answer.
No, I'm saying capitalism also means companies can fail. That's the funny thing that they seem to forget.
Oh, I know. So
they're all like, "Oh, please give us a government handout." Well, excuse me, I thought you didn't like socialism.
At what level? What would you need to happen for you to be up for going to events?
I'm not going back. As far as I can tell, I don't plan on going back. I'm double vaccinated now. I have a medical mask, and I have managed to see myself through nearly a year of school now. And I've even had to travel in that time and break quarantine and go down to Canterbury and come back. I've had to meet people in churches. I've had to do a lot of stuff, and it is sheer. The fact that I haven't got it, I put down to a combination of following routines that I learned from my friends who are paramedics and medical staff, and luck.
So you're never going back to conventions?
I'm too old for them anyway, and I'm too knackered.
Aww.
B, they don't do anything on there that I'm interested in. I have my great memories of 10 years, 15 years of doing them. But also, what are they going to offer me that they couldn't already offer me in terms of the streaming side? Like, take, for example, the US cons, I never had the time to travel to, right? So once they started showing stuff online, I was like, thank you, great, I can finally watch your stuff. And it's the same with English ones. I would much rather these things function the way our television does now, like a chat show with virtual studio audience and all the rest. I'd much rather they did that. I mean, yes, I agree. They're not going to make as much money, but the money they'll save on not having a giant venue and putting into
So-
place all the COVID procedures at this scale.
So you're kind of looking forward to this hastening the death of cons.
Well, it's not so much hastening as I just don't see why we as the punters need to look at balancing our health risk with our passion for the things that we enjoy. I think that is a really, really ridiculous false equivalence.
Okay.
Look, you love this so much, surely it's worth the risk to your health.
Well, as someone, I drink beer, so
Well,
yeah.
we all know where that leads with you and I, but
So, Jenna, what would, in hopefully in the spirit of the conversation, what level, where would you need to be for you to be willing to go back to events?
I don't know.
Conventions. We're going to assume, for argument's sake, that you do want to return to them. At which point would you?
Convention I want to go back to is Minami. That is the only one I'm really interested in, mostly because I can take Eevee, and it's.
You also want to do HabanaCon because that's great.
Yeah, that's true. To go to massive events, especially since I've got my autism diagnosis, which has only been in the last 5 years, I think has made me go more wary of them anyway.
Assuming that you would.
No, I know. Yeah. I am trying to go through theoreticals in my head as well. I don't know, because at the same, I'm considering, I'm excited about the fact of I might get to visit my actual university campus for the first ever time in September, and I've been at my uni for a year, and I've never actually been on site. But at the same time, I'm worried that there's going to be another lockdown. I don't know what's going to happen in the future. Yes, I'm also double vaccinated now. But what if there's another variant that comes out that isn't vaccinated against? I'm someone with asthma. I've got to worry about my lungs. My daughter has asthma. I have to worry about that. My husband works in retail, and that's hard enough as it is. So I don't know. I mean, I live in a town where mass events happen regularly because we have the horse racing. And that was a massive COVID spreader for Cheltenham, especially because it ran just before the first lockdown, which was a stupid decision by them. And so it's just made me, because we have a local convention that's been going a few years. I don't know if I'll return to that yet at all. And at the same time, if I really want something from the mass dealer room, yes, I might find brand new artists, but I can search Etsy, I can search the web internet and go, this is what I'm looking for.
Okay, so would it be fair to say you're also like, you've now just got no foreseeable wish to return to conventions because of the medical fears?
At the moment, yeah.
Okay.
I'm
That's not. Like, there's no wrong answer on this.
I know. But in my brain, there's a right and wrong answer, and I don't know why.
No.
I'm like, I'm desperate to see Hugh.
It's worth saying that ReedPop obviously run more than just MCM.
Yes,
and they've got oh crikey, what's it called? EGX.
Yeah,
coming up now. Kim, my partner, is a massive. That's her holiday every year. She goes to EGX every year, and she started doing the secondary, smaller EGX res as well. Apparently, she was saying that while they've kept res virtual for the bigger one, they are going to run it, but the venue they use, which is at St. Catherine's Docks. Kim says it's a very different kind of venue. It's much more ventilated. There's more room to move, and I think that, and so she's considering going. And I don't, we've been discussing this in terms of health and so forth, but because she's the one who currently works from home, and I'm the one in school. And when this event comes around, I'll be back in school, and so I think, well, assuming there's no lockdown, so I think I think it's about scale, and I think it's about venue, and I think it's about what you think can and cannot be done at that venue. She's been to that venue several times. She believes it is possible to run an event there with a degree of COVID security. And I trust her opinion on that because she's been with us to enough cons.
This is another reason I'm very hesitant to go to conventions at the moment, is because, yes, it is perfectly possible, given the nature of that venue that you described, that they could run it safely. And if you turn up and they're not, you've blown your con ticket and you've blown your weekend.
True.
And
that is a
Because
serious
you're not going to be
part
able
of
to
it.
get your ticket back.
Hmm?
You're not going to be able to get a
Yeah,
refund.
that's
I found the COVID restrictions not suitable.
Yeah.
Can I have my money back? And I go, no.
Well, also you got your hotel, your travel costs.
Yeah,
you know, it's especially after a lot of people didn't have a job over lockdown or had no source of income.
Another part of this.
It's a lot of money to lay down on a big old maybe.
I am not criticizing people for being wary of COVID because I'm not an arse. So my question about, will you, when would you be happy to return? I mean, if your answer is I don't know, then your answer is I don't know. I mean, for me, I'm like, if I was to answer it, I'd say, well, once they don't have to have COVID restrictions, plus enough for me to, enough for like 6 or so months for enough events to have happened without there being mass super spreader incidences. So that's the best answer I can give on what I need. And it's not just from a logistical side, like he was saying, like, could they run the event? Would it be able to happen? All that, but just from pure hassle front, going to an event, having to be constantly aware, having to be constantly on edge, not being able to enter that chill out thing, that would wind me up, something chronic. That would have me on edge for the whole thing, which I definitely don't want to be.
Yeah.
And also think of like the hotel rooms. How many people averagely stay in one hotel room for an expo? You can be anywhere from 1 right up to probably 20, 30 people, depending on the size of the room.
Yeah. Again, though,
how can they track that?
They can.
But also, I mean, think about it. Con-flu has always been a thing after big events, even the smaller big events. So people go to these events feeling ill. Like, oh, I've just got a bit of a cold, and then of course it mutates into everyone, and everyone's dying for the next 3 or 4 days afterwards. COVID, I've seen enough people like going at saying, oh yeah, I haven't been able to taste anything since March, but I'm still going to work and doing this, that, and the other. And it's like, have you been to the doctor? Have you got a test? Oh, I don't have COVID. It's like, no,
well, you've got all the symptoms.
Like, so like, interestingly enough, a lot of when someone says these are the symptoms of COVID, I have all of those, except I don't have COVID because I've been tested and I've all the rest of that. But if someone was to say, okay, have you got any of these symptoms? I would have to go yes for all of them, but I haven't got COVID because I have this thing that says,
Yeah.
And like, people, this may come out wrong, but I may not mean it as badly as people are inherently selfish. We are an inherently selfish species.
Okay.
We do think about the bigger picture, but for everyone, it's very much, what do I want? What do I need? What do I get out of it? Even if you are the most wonderful, lovely, kind person, there is still that part of you that's like, and for a lot of people, like, I am dying to see my friends. Like, I would love to go and see all my convention friends and hang out and chat and do all this weird and wonderful things that we used to do at conventions. But and part of me is like, oh, just go do it. It's fine. But the other part of me is like, no, because then I'm putting other people at risk. Because as I say, our first instinct is the selfish one. And then your second instinct is the, no, this is bad. I shouldn't do that. And it's not a bad thing to be selfish to start with, but it's a lot of people in the convention scene don't seem to go to the second step. That's about the nicest way I can think of putting it.
I think that's unfair, but I do completely get where you're coming from. I'm not disagreeing with you.
Yeah.
The problem is that you don't remember the average con goer.
Yeah.
You remember the worst of the worst and the best of the best.
But in this case, the worst of the worst could get you killed.
Yeah.
That's the problem, is that I don't, it's chemical warfare, and the problem is that you don't know who's got the nuke, because they probably don't even know. Because that's the thing with COVID, you can have COVID and be asymptomatic. You are completely fine. You have no symptoms whatsoever, but you are a carrier and you are spreading it to everybody else around you.
Yeah.
And I think it was Laoko's Great said further up the chat that if this happens, I'm 100 convinced that there will be another lockdown after Expo.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
it's
Okay.
as you say, it's people coming from all over the country. Some people come from Europe, assuming they're allowed to travel. I don't know what it'll be like in October.
Yeah,
And all it takes is one person with COVID at Expo and slightly lax COVID protocols, because they say they're going to do all these wonderful things, but can you if you are the person who's having to do the COVID protocols, we've all been there. We've all been like, oh, do I really have to wipe this door handle down for the 900 millionth time today? Yes, you do. But Expo's a big place, and there's only so many people that are going to have the horrible job of having to wipe down every surface.
As I said, I can see how they could do it. I could see how they could make it work. I don't know how they're going to fit all those people in the building to do
I
that.
want them to have,
The numbers would just be,
you know, those
astronomical.
watering systems that you wear it as a big tank on your back and it's got the long hose on it and you can spray things down.
Yeah.
I want them to be standing at the doors of everything with those, just spraying
Oh, you
people
know what?
down
When
with
people-
sanitizer.
when they go into prisons, powder.
I have been arguing for these things to be standard for a long time, but
Yes. You have been,
I'm
and you're
miserable,
right.
man. Anyway, so in response to the question from all of our lovely people, what do we think about the upcoming event? Would it be fair to say that number one, we're not going?
Nope.
Number two, we don't think it's going to be a fun convention if they can make it work. And number three, we don't think they're going to make it work on the safety level.
I
Can I
would be
just
very
say that
surprised if a month before they didn't say, yeah, we're not running.
Yeah.
I do think that there's something. I think everybody obviously gets different things out of conventions. I think you guys are right that MCM has always been, there's a social side that grew and then split off from it. And so it became just a massive dealer's room. But my greatest memories are mostly based around the fact that I got to be a dealer for years there. And I got to work there. And most of my great memories are either backstage as a dealer or in the press room once I became press. I don't have a lot of good memories of it the few times I've been as a punter. And I have been as a punter.
If you ever want new good memories of it, work my table.
I can work your table, but not this year.
Yeah, this is the thing. But what I'm saying is I think that the things I used to get out of a con, I get through virtual experiences now. I get through behind the scenes on YouTube, or I get through, documentary interviews or what have you, or live streams. I mean, that's where I get that fix now. And I've been enjoying that. I was enjoying that before COVID. I was enjoying the fact that there were events I didn't have to get ill from, because I always got ill from them. And Kim once got swine flu from shaking the hand of a fan on an ADV when we were running ADV. So
Jesus,
that was at MCM, and it was a nightmare. So
anyway,
just saying,
no,
not going back.
Fine, not a problem. No one's forcing you to at the moment.
As you said, again, all of my good memories at MCM are being a dealer, whether it was with you, Hugh, or because obviously that's where our friendship really kind of blossomed, was working on the ADV store. Or working with Team Giblets when they had their t-shirt company.
Yeah.
And when I've gone out into the wilderness that is Expo, it kind of freaked me out because you couldn't get anywhere. And even trying to navigate back to your table, it was a nightmare. Like trying to get food. Like there isn't a dealer's pass to go, hey, can I skip to the front of the line because I'm a dealer? So
this is why I always bring my food in with me. I like one of my boxes is just stuff. Anyway, this question came from our this was all headed by our lovely community and by our lovely Patreons, and that means it's time for this. So yes, let's give a huge monstrous shout out and say a massive thank you to our wonderful Golden Monster patrons. That's Lyoka, who's great, who's been with us through the comments, and Harriet, aka Manga Girl, who isn't here tonight, but is generally awesome. And we think she is brilliant. Thank you for your ongoing support of Bunkazilla. Don't forget, you too can support Bunkazilla by finding us on Patreon. Subscribe, give us whatever cash you can. If you go to the big or golden monster tiers, you will be getting shout outs on the shows, including this one. You also get the ability to suggest a topic for us to chew over. And it will be great. And I would also like to say a massive thank you to the wonderful, wonderful people in the Peanut Gallery tonight. Yes, support the Patreon, hopefully you can. Send all the cash. Yes, send us all the cash. We will take anything.
Please, be
think about
lovely.
Yes.
Yes, Prime subs.
Just help. Give us money so we can do more of this. Because this is a volunteer run situation.
We get to volunteer?
Yes, you get to volunteer.
It was you going, oi, can you help? Come on, please.
Yes, I did volunteer you for this.
Yes, I
Anyway,
thought it was Andrew begging.
Yeah, well, begging, volunteering, whatever. You turned
It's why
up
you
and
have two historians today.
this I don't care. You turned up and did the show. That makes me happy for another month. I love you guys. Right. So thank you very much to Hugh for your wonderful time. Mr. Hugh, is there anything exciting you want to tell people about? It is the plug moment.
Okay, plug time. So we are hopefully coming out of hiatus with all the 48 podcasts over the next month or so. Jed and I will be sitting down to do new real histories from next week. Les and I are talking about new Hustlers of Culture. We have some. Well, the Hustlers of Culture thing is quite interesting. We've actually got some like actual film, like well-known film directors who will want to talk to us. I'm the guy who said yes for the last season, and then we didn't get around to booking him. Who's still interested is Steve Jarnett, who made Miracle Mile and Cherry 2000. He wants to talk to us.
Oh my god, Miracle Mile is one of my favorite movies. It is so depressing.
It's brilliant. It's brilliant. The thing is, he's got a book. He's got a book to promote. He teaches film, but he's got a book of short stories to promote, and he's got a few other things. So he said he'd come on the show. And then there's a few other things going in the can. The other thing is I'm going to be joining
honestly
Station
fanboying at this prospect.
No, it's cool. I mean, no, I'm really looking forward to it. I've loved that.
A couple of interesting guests coming up for Real History as well. So.
Yes, as well. Real History as well. We've got loads of interesting people lined up.
Miracle Mile.
And then and then I'm going to be working with the station controller on. I'm going to be subbing in occasionally for Christian on some of the film reviews because I'm going to dare to go back into a cinema despite everything we just said. I'm going to take a risk because I've been seeing people going in. When there's like 4 to 12 people in a whole cinema, and it works. And
it's a
station controller's been doing it,
and a lot more regulated.
My daughter Evie has been begging us to take her to see Peter Rabbit.
So well, the less said about that, the better. But I will say that I'm looking forward to doing it because it's going to be a chance to review, funnily enough, Fast and Furious 9.
Woo!
That's the plan. That'll be my return. Yeah,
thank you to Jenna. Jenna, what stuff have you got going on that Q hasn't already just mentioned? Yes, you did successfully steal her thunder.
I will say we have exciting things coming up for Real History. Like we do have our Wonder Woman series finally coming out. Because we are currently both editing it. So
woohoo! BDSM for all.
Because which includes Wonder Woman the film, which we're going to have 2 episodes for, and Professor Marston, which is really, really interesting. Then at some point 84 as well, so which I still need to watch. We've support your local history association. At the moment there's a lot of free talks going on online, which is amazing. So, and they're a charity organization, so you can find out lots of interesting history. There's normally one local to everyone's area, but because of because of COVID, many have been up on Zoom free. And also my Historical Association, Gloucestershire, has also been putting our own talks up on YouTube. And in September, I am actually giving my first ever talk for the Historical Association. I'm going to be talking about Alan Turing and how his image has been used and
abused, and yes.
Yeah. So imitation gaming will come in there. So I will be recycling some history, recycling.
Has the film that
research
says based on a real story been absolute bobbins? Please, no, that's never happened before.
How many times have we laughed at that based on a true story here?
Oh,
yeah.
please.
Based on a true story, there was once someone called Alan Turing, probably. Anyway, Red-headed Rambler.
I guess the other thing. Oh, I was just going to say, in 5 days' time, please reread my cheese rolling article that I posted last year because it's cheese rolling day.
And no one that goes to do cheese rolling
it's also
cares
cheese
about
rolling
COVID.
in Animal Crossing. So
yes, it is cheese rolling in Animal Crossing.
Yes.
Hugh sent me that because he knows how obsessed I am with it.
And I presume the cheese rolling's going ahead because people who run down cheese rolling don't care about living or dying. Anyway,
well, last year they rolled a baby bell down.
So it did carry. Oops. Yes.
Yeah, I meant to say that. I was about to say that, but I thought
you would have thought all my attempts at writing pithy articles about how bad obscure movies are would have won, but no, it's something people actually care about. Anyway, Red-headed Rambler.
So before I start plugging things, you lot all ignored chat. They redeemed lots of hydrates and posture checks, so all of you need to hydrate and posture check. So come on, posture checks and hydrate. Drink something.
Out of drink.
Pretend.
I've run out. I have to go downstairs.
Well, okay,
inhale. Technically, it hydrates you.
Yeah, there you go, chat. I tried. So yeah, I basically live on Bunkazilla at the moment. So I'm here every Sunday from 6 doing Dragon Age Inquisition, and I appear to have sorted out all my technical issues.
Ugh.
So come join us for Sword, Sorcery, and Romance. Wait, no, that's the Dungeons and Dragons movie. Anyway, come join us for weird, obscure tangents as well, where I start talking about like the social and political economics of the Dragon Age universe, because I'm like, you start me going and I'll go forever.
Fantastic. That is everything. Did we all have fun?
I don't know why we've done Yorkshire.
I don't know either. That's normally a sign that I'm slowly dying from exhaustion and heat stroke. So, with no further ado, bye!
Bye!